Shiny.
Rand, that's so creative.
It is very creative.
It is. We get what we get with Randall Thor 19. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Go Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's some applause for no reason. Shout out to everyone listening to us on Spotify and Google and all that stuff. And Acer's here. How are you, Acer?
Fantastic. This is going to be a fascinating, interesting, brilliant show. Everyone should stick around. The best part is at the end, so don't go anywhere. We actually don't have anything planned for the end, but don't go anywhere anyway. The entire show is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be able to have something at the end. Just the last topic in the end. But it's going to be a great show. We're an esteemed company. One gent making his debut, and the other with a trillion gamer score, a full-on celebrity. This man is going to host the show. I don't even need to speak. It's Randall 419! Yeah!
The intro. Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me on again, guys. Asa, it's good to see you, Ham. I gotta say, though, guys, you remember when you were very strict in the beginning of, you can't come on my show unless you have a camera.
Oh my God.
You were so strict about that, and here I am. I've done your show like 4 times now, or whatever.
And how many people have come non-cam? You and Dealer. And
yeah.
2 people make Dealer. I need to get Dealer on, but he's playing NBA 2K. But we that's it. We only play favorites with you two. No one else is allowed to do it. No one else.
Nobody else.
Not even Phil Spencer can come here with no camera, but you can. Well, no camera. Yeah. It's a double negative. I don't know. Rand, Althor 19, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, did Xbox 2 yesterday, so I can't wait to say the same things I just said a day later, but slightly different.
Oh, you talked about Nintendo, did you? Okay. Well,
I mean, Jez maybe have talked about Nintendo, but I'll take a snooze during that part, I guess.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about, chat. But before we do that, we cannot forget the last gentleman making his debut in Go Live. It is Ham Solo. I've wanted you here for a while, Ham, except you didn't read your DMs from 3 months ago. How are you, man?
Hey, that's a fact. I completely whiffed.
Oh my God, your mic was
on that one.
Your mic's fucked.
Oh my God.
We'll have
Golly, goodness gracious.
I think it's your internet. You talk now.
I don't know why I got gigabit internet. It seems like every time I go to the settings to check on my mic, you're like, it's fixed. And I didn't even change anything yet. I just hit the set. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to have to leave it on the settings right now and keep it monitored. But anyways, I really appreciate the invitation. It is super, super exciting to be here this evening with you guys. And I apologize for not checking my DMs a while back. I noticed that I had sent a bunch of like happy holidays messages to a bunch of people that had been on my show that year.
Not me.
I noticed when I went back after you said it live on the show with Lemon on there, I was like, oh, let me go back and check. And sure enough, you said send all this stuff way back in like November or December. And I was like, damn, I missed a great opportunity. But you invited me back, so it's great.
Well, thank you for coming on, and keep that settings window there because it seems to be working, whatever you're doing. Minus the delay. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this stream, just pretend he's using Internet Explorer. Asa loves that joke. But yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. And shout out to Lemon. He was brilliant last week. It was such a fiery show. We have a lot to talk about. As you see from the thumbnail, one game you cannot escape for whatever reason. Hogwarts Legacy is out now. Everyone's playing it. And Wingardium Leviosa, it is taking over. And it is a fantastic game. Asa told me that. No, Asa hates Hogwarts. But even Asa, surely you are itching to play this. You've seen the reviews. Why would you deprive yourself because of your bias and hatred that you share? Just like John Linneman from Digital Foundry hates that bloody wizard game.
We are kindred spirits. I saw his tweet and I enjoyed it. I was like, yes, you're absolutely right. Open world games, Harry Potter universe. For me, it's like My level of anticipation, my eagerness to play this game is here. Forspoken is also here. They're about the same to me. I'm in no big rush.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to talk about the political stuff. He didn't like the game, the wizard stuff. I get it. Some people are just not into wizards and Harry Potter and all that universe.
Wizards are cool. Harry Potter's just not good to me.
You know, if this game was in VR, Asa would be playing it.
Oh my god, he would be playing it right now.
All of his principles get thrown out the window. He'd be like, I love it. It's VR.
Yep.
That's fair.
It absolutely would be. Yeah, exactly. You'll be waving that wand around. That sounds weird. But yeah, just it's a great game, Asa. I've been playing it this morning, and I was just like, I'm working on another video, and I'm like, well, let me just play this game, and then I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush. Rand Althor 19, are you a Harry Potter fan? Are you enjoying this game? I know you're playing it.
Yeah, I am a Harry Potter fan. My sister's got me. My sister, who is like a ridiculously huge Harry Potter fan. Like she was like in grammar school when the books were coming out, so she would get the hardcover books, first editions, and then she'd let me read them, and I became a fan. Seen all the movies, read all the books. I did have some concern about the game because I was just like, it's like, yeah, it's set before Harry Potter and stuff, and it's just like, I don't know if this is going to be good. The developer behind it really has never made a big AAA game like this before. They've only made, like, I think Disney Infinity and some of the Cars games. They were basically like, they'd make licensed games and just kind of crap them out. So this is like their first true huge AAA game, big open world, all these sort of things. And I just was like a little bit concerned. I was like, I don't know, Dead Space was coming out the week before, and I was like, I'll be busy playing Dead Space. And I don't know about Hogwarts. Then my game share partner on Xbox was like, I want to play Harry Potter, and I'm buying the deluxe edition so I can play it on Monday. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess that solves that issue because now I don't have to pay for it because my game share partner is buying it. So I started playing it Monday night, and what is it, Saturday morning right now, and I have about 28 hours into it, and I'm like level 29, and I'm quite enjoying it, Kaz. I think it's good. It definitely does have some flaws, but some
what
of
would you say the flaws are?
I would say some of the flaws. I mean, there's some nitpicky stuff like. You got your gear slots where you get all the different clothing, right? All the different, because it's kind of set up like Destiny where like your power levels based on the items that you wear, right? They have like power levels, so to speak. So you want to get better ones to equip them. And they really throw it at you in the beginning. So you're constantly getting more gear and higher and higher and higher. But then eventually that sort of wears out. Right, and you're not really replacing that stuff. So for me, like with all the chests strewn around everywhere, like grabbing the chests isn't really enjoyable at this point anymore. But for me, I think the biggest flaw the game is currently showing is at its core. If you strip away the Hogwarts Legacy stuff of like Harry Potter and all that, right? It is an Ubisoft open world map game. Like once you get through the early tutorials where you're in the castle and you're exploring and you go to Hogsmeade and you do some stuff, right? All stuff in the beginning, that's all great. It has the magic. I was so into it. And I am still into it. Like I'm going to beat the game. But once the game properly opens up, it is just quest markers, things you can do strewn all over the map. The map's absolutely ridiculous. You go to like towns at the very bottom of the map, and like there's really nothing Harry Potter about it. It feels like a town that could be ripped from The Witcher, where you talk to characters and they don't really have anything to say, and the town only really exists so you can have something to do, a little check mark on the map, like, oh, did you come here and did you collect all the chests? Oh, did you? And as you're walking, like, oh, look, there's 3 enemies to fight really, really easily over here, and oh, look, there's a Merlin trial, and oh, look, there's some beasts to get. Like, so eventually the game becomes that Ubisoft open world clone that all open world games essentially are. So that's kind of like the biggest flaw for me is it doesn't do that aspect well, but it does do a lot of other things well. Like, I'm enjoying the main story because it's completely original. I think the combat is fantastic. The combat for me is carrying the game. Like, I love getting into these huge battles.
I thought that would have been the weakest, but when you were saying the weak points, I thought you were going to mention combat.
No, the weak points is just your typical open world stuff, because eventually it gets boring. Right? It's like, why do I want to talk to some person? Like, all the side quests, there are some good side quests, the ones that deal specifically with your classmates, but then there are just random side quests that are like, hey, this guy over here stole my cabbages. Can you go get these cabbages and bring them back? It's like typical open world stuff, right?
Rand, you very much put me off of the game even more than I was already off it, apart from that combat bit. Can you sell me on the combat? Can you tell me what makes it good and fun to play?
The combat's super interesting, right? So you cast spells with the right trigger. You constantly just can cast spells, but you also have your cooldown spells, your regular spells like Expelliarmus and all the different Harry Potter spells, and you can slot them into, for the face buttons. So you hold down the right trigger, hit Y or B or A or X, and you'll cast that spell. And what they're basically used for is like the combo, because you can basically combo enemies consistently, like lift somebody up in the air, hit them a couple times with the regular spell, then use your Accio spell to pull them closer, hit them a couple times, use your fire spell to set them on fire, and then push them further away. So there's a lot of good combo material using the combat system. And then eventually, as you go, you get talent points. You can make your spells more powerful and stuff, but you can also give yourself more spell decks. So at the beginning, you can only have 4 spells in a slot. But then when you upgrade it, you can have another slot that you can switch to on the fly by holding right trigger and hitting one of the D-pads. So essentially, in any given fight, the way if you have it all set up, you can switch between 4 different spell decks with 4 different spells in each deck. So like when I get into a battle, I'll use my one combo that will just instantly murk an enemy. Like I use Descendo and I just smash this guy to the ground, right? I use Expelliarmus and he gets cursed because I'm investing in the dark arts. His weapon will fly up in the air. I'll grab the weapon with right bumper and I'll throw it back at him. Then I'll cast Glacius on him as he's in the air to freeze him, which then the next hit does more damage, and I'll do this huge slash move to basically just destroy him. But then all my spells are on cooldown, and then I'll use right trigger to flip to the other set of spells I have, and then start going to town on the other enemies. And then it also has a counter, like pretty much like a Batman. Like obviously enemies are going to attack you. Yeah. And you have that little like thing over your head where it glows yellow that you can counter. So when the yellow happens, if you hold Y, you'll cast a Protego spell, and then you'll actually counter them with a Stupefy. And if it's red, you can roll. So when you get into the combat, it is really this. It's really just you just using. It does make you feel like a badass because it's just you versus like 10 people, and you're just constantly doing all these spells, comboing people in the air, blocking at the right time. It is really a lot of fun. So that is really like the glue that's holding the game together for me, because I love getting into the fights and seeing where the story's going. I love going around the castle. Like I spent so many hours in the beginning of the game going through the castle, looking around, trying to find the field pages, doing the collectibles. Same thing with Hogsmeade. Like I was really into it. And then it became that open world Ubisoft map game with all the different things on the map that you can go to that are all basically samey. And my enjoyment started to lessen a bit. Like I was probably feeling like, 8.5 in the beginning. And now I'm probably down to like maybe like I was actually probably feeling like a 9. Like I was feeling like really good about it in the very beginning. But the more I've played, the deeper I've gotten into it. I'm probably down to an 8 simply because like the open world fatigue is starting to get to me now at like 30 hours in. But the combat is like, I think the best part. It like every combat encounter is just so cool to get into.
That's kind of good and bad, because I've actually got to Hogsmeade and I've got my wand and I still need to do a couple of the other things. So I'm at a point where that Ubisoft formula you talk about hasn't reared its head yet. The combat also seemed like they had promise, but what you explained to me, because I thought there are 4 face buttons. Am I going to get more than Accio and whatever? But let's see. It's that Harry Potter sheen on top of it that kind of helps conceal, I guess, or help you tolerate that Ubisoft formula a little bit more. But if it is loads of random quests strewn on a map, that's going to cause my attention to wane, which is why I'm playing Hi-Fi
I mean, you
Rush
could
now,
you could just stick to the main quest and just do that, and maybe some of the other side quests. I'm just saying, like, the map is so big and there's so much stuff everywhere, and there's constant like, oh, go here, and the game has like a Pokemon like beast mini game where you can go around and collect all these different types of beasts, bring them back to the room of requirement, and put them into your basically a sanctuary for them, and then you can like pet them and get them to love you, so they give you magical like items to use in your potions, and then you can even breed them, like kind of like a poke. Like the game has a lot really that it's doing, and the game does really open up once you get your broom, when you can just fly everywhere. You don't really have to walk. But it's definitely better than I expected. Like, I was expecting just this is just a licensed game. They're using the thing. It's not really going to be any good. And surprisingly, it's quite good. It's just quite good. But it has all the tropes that every open world game has, which some people don't mind. But then others are just, like me, I'm just kind of like, I don't know about, like.
Well, let's see. Ham, you've been sitting there patiently listening to us all, and I know you've been playing this game. Tell us about your feels. Is this open world formula like grating at you, or are you sucked in? Also, before you go, sorry, Rand, what house are you?
Gryffindor.
Oh, you Gryffindor. You're
well, I mean,
I
answered the question and it said Gryffindor, and I was like, whatever it gave me.
Okay, fair enough. And you, Ham, what house?
Oh man, Slytherin.
I knew I liked you. I'm Slytherin too.
And I'm sorry, Rand, but no disrespect.
But sounds like disrespect is coming.
Undersell just got done speaking. Mr.
Undersell? I oversold this game. What are you talking about?
Undersell is what I just heard for like. I just listened to 5 minutes of monotoneness about Hogwarts, and I just gotta keep it real. This game is an absolute banger. This game is a banger. It's a lot of fun.
If you're 12,
it's
probably.
If you're 12. If you're 12 and you love Harry Potter to the point and you haven't really played any video games, it's a banger. I hated Harry Potter all my life. Never read one book, never watched one movie.
This is why we need to see Rand's face.
Was phenomenal.
My sister, who hasn't played a video game in 10 years,
phenomenal.
In 20 years, would give it a 10 out of 10. It says the greatest thing of all time as well.
Okay. You're telling me this person that got the 1 million+ gamer score that danced his way to getting some of these points is going to tell me that this is a hard buy.
No, absolutely. I didn't say that. I didn't say it's a hard buy. I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. I know.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm unfollowing you now, so.
Oh man. Okay. It is what it is, though, Rand. Hey, bro, if you got to do that, you got to do that. But I tell you what, this game right here, to me, is literally like the Elden Ring of 2023 so far.
Whoa! Now you talk about hyperbole. Oh my lord!
It is. It is. You're sitting there underselling the streaming numbers on it. I
thought we're talking about how the game is and how it plays, not about whether people are watching it or how many people are playing it.
Let me go on ahead and talk about how the game plays then.
Okay, go ahead.
Within the first 10 minutes, it's already getting smoky.
Ooh.
Things are going down already. You're already falling out the sky, bruh. Like I'm telling you, it's a really
story where you actually fall out the sky.
Bro.
Yeah. In the beginning, when the dragon attacks you in the carriage,
I'm saying it pops off right at the get go, and I really just enjoy the ability to be able to choose what you are in the game. You explained earlier that it was kind of like The Witcher. What's The Witcher? A great game. The Witcher is a great game, and I
think
get a lot of sense.
The towns.
I was more talking about the towns could just be from The Witcher or any generic RPG.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. The towns were very comparable and whatnot. Scenery, yeah, sure. But flying around, pretty dope. I tell you what, bro, I really enjoy being on my broom and just pulling up on somebody. You just pull up on like 12
drive
people.
by 187 on a broom.
You just hop off your broom and just start knocking suckers out. I know what you're talking. I know you know what I'm talking about, Randy.
Yeah.
You've probably done it a ton of different times.
I did it in the beginning, and then I don't do it anymore. I just fly over everything to get to where I need to go, or fast travel because I just want to waste time.
Ham. His time is
precious.
Oh,
He's a
so
celebrity.
precious.
Look, you make it, Ham. You make it sound like I'm giving this game a 5 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 like Wired. You're making it sound like I don't enjoy anything about this game. I literally said I would.
Don't make it sound like Wired.
I was like saying I thought it was like an 8. In fact, I said in the beginning I thought it was like a 9 out of 10. I was so into everything.
That's where I'm at with it right now. I'm still at the 9. I put about 20 plus hours into it. I'm level 25 right now. I've put some TLC into this game, and I tell you, man, it's a really good experience. And from where this studio came from, with the IP that they got, not very many other studios have given that type of love and respect to like a movie or a book or something like that.
I will agree
so
that.
I am there to give it its flowers right now. I'm not trying to like crap on anything you said, Rand, because I do understand there is some moments in that game where you're just like, you go up to talk to somebody and you're just like, oh man, why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't
Skip
care.
dialogue,
I don't hear
okay.
anything. Because he's right. After the first like 50 times you listen to a conversation, it's like, oh, you're scared to go in the woods? Like it's like a mile away. What the heck? Just go and get it yourself. But
but
you're going to go get it
for a reason.
Sure. But I mean, that's why I probably give it as much praise as I do, because I'm not a Harry Potter fan or any.
You're not a Harry Potter fan, and you love it
not
that
a Harry
much.
Potter. Not a Harry Potter fan. I've never read any of the books.
What?
I hopped in here very similar to how Rand did. My buddy bought it. I game share with him, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And the only reason he bought it is because his wife wanted to play it.
So we both
bought
didn't
it
even.
for his wife.
We're both are playing the game that we didn't even spend any money on. Yes.
Exactly. And it got me wanting
but
to
you
spend
still
money
love
on
it.
that sucker now.
That's crazy.
It has me wanting to go get it for the other console.
The other
Try it
console
on there. Yeah.
the little man, or for the PlayStation 5, or for the Xbox?
For the Xbox, because I'm game sharing with the bro on PlayStation. And because
Don't buy it
I ain't
on
trying
Xbox, even
to,
though
I'm
you're-
not trying to spend too much money on my PlayStation if I don't have to. I like getting the reaps of the rewards of the Xbox rewards program way more than I like putting in for good customer service. I'll tell you that. So, but yeah, so I've been running around on there, and like I said, I'm to the point where I'm like, shoot, I might have to cop this myself so I can get that gamer score on my Xbox.
That's what it's all about.
I mean, it's quite interesting, Ham. What is it? Even though you're not a Harry Potter fan, what is primarily pulling you in? Is the world?
No, like I said, I
Combat?
didn't really care about that. I think it's the RPG elements, really. The ability to kind of, make my character look the way I want it to look. I wish I could choose I'm a bigger brother, right? So, I mean, I wanted, I was looking, I was like, there ain't no option to make a brother thick. What happened? like that's what I was trying to do. But hey, there was no option to do that. And unfortunately, if you slide the voice changer at all, as soon as you go one direction in one way, it sounds like a tin can.
Yeah, it sounds awful. You have to have it in the middle. Otherwise, it's
So
bad.
yeah, I chose it right in the center, but man, I went with swag over power for most of my trip into that game, just because I like the way my guy looks and whatnot. I'm like, oh, he looks good, but now this fight's taking probably 3 more minutes than it probably should.
Well, the game does feature transmog. but it's
Explain.
not really
Clarify,
explained
people.
well. So transmog is
Clarify.
a system where, like, if you really like an outfit or something,
kind of like Phoenix Rising and stuff like that, where you can wear one suit but it'll look like another.
but it has the properties of the other suit. So basically, like, if you have a drip that you like, right? But this thing has 80 hit points.
he said
or
it's
80
serious. The drill.
drip, right? But it has
drill.
80 offense, and this other one that looks like garbage has 150. You put on the one that has 150, and then you press X on the overall category, and then you can pick the one, any of the ones that you actually have to wear. So you can wear what you want, but still be as powerful as you need to be.
So in other ways, brother, you said I've been slipping for no reason.
You've been slipping, bro. But I don't blame you, because the game doesn't explain it. It
doesn't. There are some things in that game that it doesn't explain super well, but like you're right though. The combat just keeps you tuned in to where it's just like, I found myself running through the woods for like an hour and a half, just looking for things to disrespect.
Yeah,
It was fantastic.
I find it quite interesting that you're sucked into the world. The game world for me, I read all the books and I struggled to remember a lot of it. I didn't even realize, Rand, until you just mentioned when you were talking about the game, that the game is actually set before the Harry Potter thing. I thought it was set after. It's before Harry Potter?
I'm pretty sure it's like way before. Like this is
Supposed to be like 200 years.
Yeah,
like 200 years before or something like that.
Because the what's her name, Weasley is like the headmaster, so like that's one of the in the future.
Well, yeah, I mean they use the fan service because they were like, hey, we remember Weasley, what, right? Like Weasley from the you know, like, so it's like, it's kind of like wink wink nod nod. Oh, and this is Finch. You remember Finch from the, you know, the books, right? They do that a lot. Or Black, the headmaster Black, right? That's, you know, obviously one of Sirius Black's descendants, you know, from... So they do a lot of that where it's like names that you would remember from, you know, the books or movies that you've read.
Y'all
Ah.
speaking in tongues to me right now. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Did you close your settings window because your voice is murked again? But yeah, no. Well, Hogwarts Legacy has been it's like doing mad numbers. I think it's a great game. What have you said there, Rand, has made me a little bit anxious about what comes after. I say anxious, it's not really anxious. After speaking to you, Rand, I'm gonna devote my attention, actually kind of did this anyway, complete Hi-Fi Rush, Dead Space, then perhaps this. But I mean,
it depends. It depends on how you feel about open world stuff. Some people don't care. Some people are like, you know, like Ham's like really enjoying it, which is great. I'm really enjoying it. Ham makes it sound like I'm a hater over here or something. Like he makes it sound like I'm trashing this game. You know, it's like the world they built, especially around Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, is freaking incredible. I can't overstate it. Right, good. Being in the castle, even though the performance is god awful. Like when you're in the castle, no matter what mode you're using, because there's like 5 modes on the Xbox and 5 modes on the PlayStation. Like you can go quality, you can go balance, you can go performance, you can go high frame rate, right? Like you're gonna have issues even with loading. Sometimes if you get to another part of the castle and you try to open a door, you'll see like a little like loading symbol on the handle because it's trying to load what's behind the door because you got there too quickly, right? It's like all that stuff's amazing. Like they recreated that feeling, and so in the beginning, when you're only really doing things around the castle and Hogsmeade, it's like, wow, this is the Harry Potter experience I've always dreamed of. Mm-hmm. Going to class, having adventures, doing all these sort of things, and then the game kind of opens up when you get your broom and you can fly around, and then you look at the map and it's so huge, and there's just like markers everywhere for just random things you can do, and then you start doing some of the side quests, and it's just like, oh, Sonny, I lost my dog over by the bridge. Can you go get my dog for me? And it's like, oh, here we go. Typical open world side quest stuff. You know what I mean? But even out that, like, it's still like outshines the formulaic stuff that the open world games do because of the combat, because of the world, because of the story, because of the character. Like, you know, you can build your character how you want and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, and like Cam was saying, this is a developer known for just making licensed games. This is their first big AAA game, and if this is their first one, they knocked it out of the park. I would love to see what they can do next. Right?
The developers again,
Avalanche, but not Avalanche. The Avalanche, who did Mad Max and Rage 2 and stuff. This is like, so one's Avalanche Games and one is Avalanche Studios, and I can never remember which one's which. But this is the one studio that's owned by Warner Brothers. And they've only really made like Disney, like Cars and Disney
Didn't
Infinity.
they do like Mortal Kombat trilogy way back in the day?
They might have if it was like a port job or something. It's possible. I'd have to look, but I mean,
But
people are loving
people are
loving this game though, Gaz. You know.
I mean, I am, and I'm shocked at how this isn't just a movie tie-in. It's a beautiful. I'm at this phase where I'm at Hogsmeade now, collecting my wand and all of that. And I'm just stunned by Hogwarts. Just like it feels like I'm there, and like so much world building there that I'm hoping they build up on it. This is a game. This is a incredible title that will propel Avalanche to the upper echelons. Now, everyone's line of sight is on Avalanche, and now they can make demands on what they work next. And if they're working with Warner Brothers, they have a whole staple of IPs available to them. Like you know what Warner Brothers are like. So what can they work on? Like, I'm quite excited about it. The game is brilliant. Obviously, it's fair share of controversy surrounding it because of the author. But for those who are playing the game, I see so much passion and love for the game itself. And I'm just wondering what the future for Avalanche is, because this is not a small, insignificant feat, irrespective of what you say about the open world trappings of it. Because
I got a quick question though.
Sure.
Was it Avalanche that did it, or was it Portkey? Because I thought it was, because Portkey's all over the title. Was Avalanche not there just to assist?
Portkey Games, I think, is just
because they were a mobile studio, correct?
Well, okay, so it says Portkey Games is a video game label owned by Warner Brothers Games. Founded in 2017 and is dedicated to creating gaming experiences related to the Wizarding World. So it might sort of be like how Xbox's World's End, where they were built to basically make games from the Age of Empires franchise, and then they hire developers to make the games. So they like oversee it. So it seems like Portkey Games is similar to that, where it's just a label and they like would oversee games made within the Harry Potter universe, but then they would hire out developers who would actually make the games. I mean,
like the future of 343.
Maybe.
So
The disrespect.
Well, I think that's enough Hogwarts talk. If you played it, most people are playing it. Most people are enjoying it, and there's a lot. I mean, we won't get into the political stuff, but hopefully, let's see what Avalanche can do. Whoever the developers are, Portkey, Avalanche, Frank F in chat says Portkey are the publisher, but we'll see. But what's next for this studio is not the question I have in mind. I was actually thinking about what's next for this other studio that delivered a game out of nowhere, and that's Tango Gameworks. I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush today, and in many ways, I think it's being. I know some people in this space are overblowing it, but I can't think of a game that has this level of polish and character. Like the story, like I don't understand the history, because I watched the interview behind the chap who was heading this at Tango Gameworks. And the game's polish and style isn't something I've seen in a video game. Name me one video game in this kind of art style, this kind of cartoony art style that delivers it with this polish, these lines. I think it's really, really impressive. And I'm shocked that it came from a studio that I know very little about. Tango Gameworks is a Japanese outfit. And now everyone is asking this question, what's next? Evil Within 3 or Hi-Fi Rush 2? Asa, you played Evil Within 1 and 2. You streamed them and you had a good impression. You enjoyed those two games, right?
Yeah, they kind of playfully in the shadow drop for Hi-Fi Rush, they kind of tease Evil Within 3 as being also in the works. That was my impression from when they had Shinji Mikami there and they were talking about it, because he wasn't particularly involved with Hi-Fi Rush. This was another part of Tango Games. So I would suspect that the next thing is going to be Evil Within 3. I hope so. I quite like those games. I like the first one more than the second, which a lot of people disagree with that played the both of them. But yeah, like you say, Hi-Fi Rush is something special, and it's had a massive impact. It's made some waves. So unless Microsoft are completely dense, they're going to be trying to leverage what that studio have proven that they can do.
Asa, did you see the screenshot that was floating around where they tease Evil Within 3 from Hi-Fi Rush?
From Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah, there's a screenshot. Let me see if I can find it. Basically, it's one of those, like, you know, blink and you'll miss it type things. It's a screenshot of, like, when you're trying to get to Kale's office. It's like the computer says 776. And then it says at the very bottom, today's weather, good enough. And it says news, sequel to popular survival horror game franchise announced.
So,
So, I mean,
pretty much confirms that.
well, I
What
mean, I
does
don't know
that
if it
mean?
confirms.
No, it's playful. It's not really confirmed. Is
Yeah,
it?
I mean, it could be an East, like Asa said, Mikami didn't really have anything. He was a executive producer. I don't really think he had much to do with Ghostwire Tokyo either, right, Asa? I think that was,
as far as I know.
so. I mean, if he's actually making a game, it's potentially Evil Within 3. But I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. I mean, this is a studio that just released Ghostwire Tokyo last year, and then released this game this year. Not even a year later, because Ghostwire Tokyo was end of March. This was January, and how insanely polished and everything this game actually is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't really expect their next game anytime soon. But I do hope Hi-Fi Rush 2 is one of those things where it's like immediately greenlit. Let's start prototyping some stuff, and let's start making it, because it needs to be a franchise. You know, it needs to have a sequel. It's that good.
I'm kind of
It's also
sad as
like,
I'm playing it.
No, you're not. It's also like, it's very quintessentially a Japanese game. It's got that kind of identity about it. And obviously Xbox own Tango game works. But it was almost an accident that they got them. Like, it's not an accident, but you know that's not why they bought ZeniMax. So Xbox have been trying to make inroads in Japan for the longest time. And then they've gone and bought ZeniMax to get a hold of Doom and Elder Scrolls and all their big properties that they've got. Tango Gameworks have come with the package and smashed that one out the park. And now hopefully, like, Xbox still don't seem to have that much current potential to go and get to expand their Japanese operation, but they've got a bit of that character that kind of made up my childhood. Like with the Nintendo and Dreamcast and Saturn and all of those things, that Japanese line of games, not like Square Enix do, where they're like, let's make this game for Americans, and it turns out terrible. This is proper, like, it's good.
Does it
and I want
scream
more
Japanese to you? I don't know if it does to me.
It does, in my opinion.
Dreamcast. Go on.
It really does. I agree with Ace. It really does. If you think about it, I mean, other than the rhythm, I like to compare that game. I know a lot of people say Jet Set Radio or
doesn't play anything like Jet Set Radio.
What's the other game that a lot of people say by Insomniac?
Oh, Sunset Overdrive is definitely not something.
Sunset Overdrive. A lot of people compare it to that too. I personally compare it a lot to Devil May Cry, but like a more softer and brighter version of it. And if you look at it beyond the rhythm aspects of it, how they have like the grade that's in the corner, the way that you use the combats and use like certain specials within the combat. Then also when you look at the character himself, he resembles a lot of what Dante was, with the goofiness but willingness to work with you, but kind of a butthead about it consistently. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm able to curse here or not, so I'm just trying to keep it cool.
Okay, so
no, I do, but like I get nervous about cursing when I go on to somebody else's podcast. Fine. I'm comfortable doing it on my own, but anyways, so yeah, he's an asshole from time to time, right? But I was actually talking to another friend about it. I was like, dude, this really reminds me of Devil May Cry. And he's like, actually, a few of the developers from Capcom actually work at Tango now.
Shinji Mikami, didn't he create Devil May Cry? Well, the first one? He's the creator of it.
There you go.
There it is.
I mean,
Factoids by GameOnDaily. It's true, yeah. And I see a lot of comparisons to, and KSanti in chat. Of course, I played Jet Set Radio Future. What are you talking about? I love that game. And immediately, you're right, Ham. When you see it visually, it's because the trailer showed you the rail stuff, so Sunset Overdrive, and then they saw the art style. But you're right. It's way more closer to Devil May Cry than those games. It definitely is.
Absolutely.
But I'm not seeing the Japanese flavor. Maybe I'm missing it. To me, it's like it's such a I love my cartoons. I love like the likes of Invader Zim and stuff like that, where they have a unique style and each character has this vibe. It's so well done. I'm just thinking, I want to know a little bit more about, because it's a Western chap. He's an American guy who was fronting this project for the Japanese studio, which is a weird setup in its own right, isn't it?
To me, that makes sense because the game the cutscenes and stuff like that remind me of something that I'd see that is like a known anime, but on Netflix redone. That's kind of what it reminds me of a little bit.
You're right. It reminds me of Korra. You know Korra from Avatar? They've got a series. It kind of, and it's goofy and funny.
The one with the blue?
Of that style. The blue, yeah. And I watched a whole like season of it. I don't know. Yeah, but it's just so well done. And I want to see Hi-Fi Rush 2, and I'm playing it now, trying to explore as much as I can because I don't want the game to end because people say it's a 6-hour game or something. And I feel like I'm going to be really salty when it ends. But well done. And Asa, you were so
6 hours?
It's longer than 6 hours.
Yeah, I think I had 11 on normal.
Okay.
That's almost
fine.
double. I mean, I guess you could do it in 6. You're playing on easy and you're skipping all the cutscenes. Maybe it's possible then. But that'd be like, that's a lot of the fun of the game is a lot of,
I mean, people beat Persona in like 60 hours, right? But that means you didn't check out anything. You just literally just hit X the entire time. So I'm assuming that's what they probably did when they beat it in a short time. That was a speed run. Just a legit run, I'd say, would take anywhere between 12 to 15, depending on how you're running around the levels.
But what difficulty are you playing on, guys?
This one I'm playing normal,
but
I might go back to hard. I'm struggling with the rhythm.
Yeah,
I'm getting C ratings all the time.
I basically stopped really caring about being on rhythm.
I can't do that.
Well, I got no rhythm.
I don't got any rhythm. I don't got any rhythm. I eventually got better at it as the game went on. I was starting to go. I went from like D's to C's to like sometimes B's, but I just really stopped trying my hardest or getting disappointed when that number came up and it was like a C. I was just trying to have fun and do the combos and stuff. I wasn't really too worried about being on beat,
I've noticed the rhythm is after. It's not like Guitar Hero to where it's right before. It's actually right after that
the beat
circle.
Hit?
Yeah. That main circle that you're supposed to hit it in. It's right after, when it gets in. Once it shrinks down and it gets right inside of it. Once it gets right inside, that's the part that you nail every single time. Gotta.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found. When you press some of the switches and it says you have to hit a load of QTEs at A, B, 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 A. And as I was doing it, I was like, what? I'm hitting it just before. And I think it's just after it goes past the green. It's when you're doing it. I feel like, though, I have to hit the rhythm. Rand, I envy you that you can do it that way because everything in this game, the levels pulsating to the beat. When you do the dash, if I'm not hitting it to the beat, it feels right. If I'm not hearing the hey, and to the point where I'm doing single combos, I'm spamming X just once, but then I'm like, it's struggling, and I just feel like I need to isolate some of the sounds. But it's such a great mechanic.
Don't suck at games.
I want to see your rating on this game, Asa. Do you have the rhythm? But it's such a good game. And I know a lot of people are like, Xbox guys are starving. No, it's one of those, like Santi says, it is to me the Jet Set Radio future of this generation. Like that. It's such a good game. It's so polished. I've not played a game that has that much character in a long time. And it came from a studio that I wasn't even it wasn't even on my radar. And it came out on Xbox and it was shadow dropped. that is such a big thing for Xbox. But for me as a gamer playing this game, I love those kind of moments, and I wonder when I'm going to get it next. That's why I'm only looking at Tango Gameworks' future, and I'm going to play Evil Within 1 and 2 now because like these are the guys who made it, so I have to play. And I know it looked fun, Asa, when you were streaming it. I was watching that for a while. I like this game.
You have to play it on PC. Evil Within 1, 2 you can play on Xbox, like it's good in back compat. But Evil Within 1 you have to play on PC and then have fun.
I don't really like playing. My PC's merged now. I can't even use Premiere Pro, but I will. Yeah, maybe one day. I've got massive backlog, but don't sleep on Hi-Fi Rush, people. Try it out. It's such a good game. Now I heard you. So there's a bit of repetition here, Rand. Talk about this next topic, but you have to talk about it. People like surprised. People DMing me about it, like, yes, I thought you said Fable sucked, and I'm like, bruh, like, okay. News came out, LinkedIn profile, that apparently Fable is in a playable state, and so is Compulsion's Project Midnight is also all based on a LinkedIn profile. Now with Fable playable state, what does that actually mean? Rand, we had Matt Booty last year waxing lyrical about how desperately he wants to show the game off to us.
Yeah.
Then you've got this LinkedIn profile. Surely this is going to be shown off at E3 this year. Has to be.
Doesn't have to be. Who says it has to be? I mean, who says it? Who says it has to? Who says anything has to be?
I mean, not has to be, but I mean, this. You know what I mean? Like,
people thought for sure Avowed was going to be at last year's E3 until they decided no, only 12 months. Who knows? Who knows what the plans are? You say never say anything. It's like, you know. I'm just saying. The thing is, okay, so, well, number one, I thought Fable switched engines to Unreal, didn't they, guys?
I don't know about that. Tim Dog put me in the bloody...
Oh, come on. Remember there was that big rumor? It was like, oh, Fable has restarted development, and it's now on Unreal Engine 5. Well, no, I'm not saying it had anything to do with you. I'm just saying there was that rumor in the early beginning of the year.
I don't think that's
that someone just made up on 4chan, and then like...
Oh, so you do believe it's made up as well. Good.
Well, yeah. I mean, people who know came out and said it's complete bullshit. But either way,
they refute it. I didn't see that.
Yeah. So, like Jason Schreier said it was BS. Christopher Dring, Jez said it was bullshit. But
I didn't miss that.
Playable state can mean anything. Like, I mean, what does that really mean? I don't know.
You said it was looking good last year. Why should this come as a shock? But
Ham, what do you think? What does playable state mean? What does that mean to you? Like, hey, game's in playable state now. Like, does that mean? We should be playing it next year, or is it just being like, hey, you can play the game now, but it looks all blocky? And
when I hear, I'll answer that right now. When I hear playable state, the first thing I think of is that picture of Redfall we seen a long time ago.
The leaks.
Yeah, and I just think, oh wow, this thing is in a state of just being able to get to point A to point B to point C to whatever. Like, it's not in my opinion, I doubt it'd be in any sort of form to be ready to be shown off. I know they probably want to show something off, and I'm sure they have something cleaned up to be ready to be shown off. But like, I think it's a little. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves when we say playable state, as in if it's like ready at all. It's
and even I talked about this with the Grubster, the Jeffrey Grubb on Xbox 2+1, where we talked about like what could be at E3, and he mentioned how companies, how hard it is to get stuff prepared for E3. Like, if you wanted to do a 2-minute trailer or a 2-minute gameplay demo, that's basically like 5 months work for a bunch of people, like, because it takes so long and so many people have to be on it. It's almost, that's why you don't really see a lot of those things anymore.
Why 5 months to do like a little vertical slice? Really?
I mean, if you can go listen to the episode, that's pretty much what he was saying, that it's like these things take a long time to make and they require a lot of people to make them, and sometimes just like it's better served not to even do it. You just rather have them work on the game and then start showing it when it's in a more presentable state. But it's not like, hey, like let's spend one weekend and just get some footage. Like, no, that stuff takes a long time.
I'm saying 1 weekend, but 5 months seems really excessive.
I mean, that's unless I'm misquoting him, but
Gas Forspoken's in a playable state.
Oh,
Like, what's that? What's that game that Rand doesn't like to speak about? Scalebound. That was in a playable state.
was it
That
though?
was 5 months to make.
Hey, if a game's broken, hey, and you can turn it back on and try again, it's playable. It's just not good.
The only thing you can really take from this, Gaz, is that development is progressing, right?
Yeah.
If we can even assume the stuff is right, it's like, hey, it's now in a playable state. So, progress has been made, and it's at this point. Same thing with the Compulsions game. I think it was like they're in a playable alpha build or something, right? I think that was someone with the but it's like, okay, the only thing you can really take away from it is like, all right, development's progressing, and
Facts.
maybe we hear something next year, or maybe Compulsion's game is closer because they're in a playable alpha state. Maybe they get to a playable beta state later this year, and maybe that comes out next year. But in my mind, I've always had Fable pegged as a 2025 game. So the fact that So the fact that they say playable really doesn't mean much to me. I'm not a developer. I don't know what that means and like how far. Oh, when you're in a playable state, it's usually X amount of time before release, or but things can go wrong. Things can go really well. It's just I don't know. I don't really get much use out of the whole LinkedIn, like people like looking for scraps of info on the LinkedIn stuff. It really doesn't. Asa, what do you think? Is the LinkedIn stuff like useful?
I think if we use like Perfect Dark as a kind of barometer, Phil Spencer's child was playing Perfect Dark 4 years ago, so we can safely assume that Fable is never coming out.
Never coming out.
The playable state thing, like, it means very little because you can get a conceptual playable build of a game very, very early. So I don't know like how far along Fable is. I think you're right, probably 2025 at the earliest. I don't know. Yeah,
2025 is where I have it at. I'm just hoping we get that's so on point. Well, when did we see Phil Spencer or that developer's kid play the game? Isn't the same?
It was a picture when he was with what's his face that left to go back to Insomniac, Drew Murray, and Phil was sitting there playing it, and people were trying to like enlarge Drew Murray's glasses to kind of see what was reflected on the glasses. But yeah, that was at that point in time. I forget how long ago that was because they announced Perfect Dark in 2020. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. Was that? I think that picture
was like early 2021.
No, that had to have been before because we didn't know it was Perfect Dark at the time, right? We still didn't know what the game was, so it would have been like 2019-ish, maybe.
Damn.
But I mean, they could have just been building the prototypes of like the movement system and whatever that the eventual game was going to be built on, or right? So now Crystal Dynamics is making it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really.
Like a start screen, and Phil Spencer's like, "What the flip?"
But anyways, you're the insider. You got all the Fable stuff. You're the one who started.
I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that again.
You learned.
I'm not doing that.
You took my advice and just shut up.
Well, Jez verified what I said. My information was for a while ago. So someone who had left, I'm not going to say who, but they said Fable, the development was a bit sketchy because of that. They're still building on Forza Tech. And I said that. And turned out that's what Jez has corroborated, and they had issues with it. Nothing about this Unreal Engine Exodus. I mean, the Halo thing is still shocking to me that that's happening. I find that so weird. But it's also exciting to know because there's like light at the end of the tunnel. But with for a Fable, I never imagined an exodus to another engine. What I did comment on, and it is legit. People can they know it now, but it's fact. This guy would never do it. I never do the insider game. It's only this one time, and he said, yeah, they had issues with it. But that was ages ago, and it's hopefully things will be better now. But I'm hoping. I mean, when was the CGI trailer shown? They should show it.
2020.
2020 is 2 years.
It was the one more thing. Remember, it was the one more thing to end the show in 2020.
And it was fun to see that, like Fable's coming back. We kind of knew it was the worst kept secret ever because that's how we described it. But I'd like to see it. But if it's 2025, then it's a bit early to show off even a vertical slice of gameplay. But they've already decided, Rand. Phil Spencer's already said that they know exactly what they're showing in June. So they are much prepared. They know exactly what they're showing. He said that, and that's quite significant. And I hope Fable's one of them. But if it's quite far away, well, we're so desperate to see.
Well,
something.
remember, Booty said Playground won't let him show anything until they're ready to show something, right?
Well, do you believe Matt Booty when he says that it looks so good that he really?
I mean, I don't know if I believe him in that, but I do believe him where he's like, Playground Games doesn't want us to show anything, and when they're ready to show something is when we'll show it. I do believe that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Playground Games is an incredible developer. Look how amazing Forza Horizon 5 looks, and I can imagine like a fully, hey, this is our prototype of what we think, Fable is going to look like at the end. I can imagine that looking incredible, right?
Oh man, it's going to be like I said before, this will be the best Fable game ever made, because Molyneux's Fables as brilliant, and I loved 1 and 2. I loved 1 maybe more than
Same.
2. Yeah,
I like 2 better, actually.
You like 2 better?
Yeah, 1 and 2 are about similar.
I wish they would update 2, because 1 and 3 are updated, but 2 is still looking rough.
I haven't gone back to it, because with Fable 1, the stench of Molyneux's broken promises were constantly a reminder. Every time I looked at a tree, I was like, damn you, Molyneux. But with this one, with Playground Games, they're so immensely talented. Despite all the issues, I think we'll get the best Fable game we've ever got, because it's going to be, I hope, massive, like sandbox, like open. I'm not even a fan of open world games, but the kind of image, because if you remember Fable, it was very close little set. You have a little track leading you to a play space, and perhaps maybe 2 or 3 entrances there. And then you go a little track, narrow, and then it's that illusion of an open world, but there's fences everywhere, and you can see the vista. It's like, that's not enough. I want to be able to see a large open world game and navigate around it. I want to go through forests. I want to go. There's so much there, but that's why I'm desperate to see this at E3. But hopefully, this game we'll get to see it sooner. More than anything, I just want it to be good. So if it's whatever, delay it, whatever.
That's because you want to see it, because you're going to be hopefully at this year's E3. So you're going to want to be sitting in the chair, seeing the Fable thing come up. I mean, I'll try to be there, guys. I'll try to be there.
Saying that, chat.
Ham, you going to be there? You're going to be?
I'm going to be there 100%.
Dude, it seems like
it seems like a possibility.
Is Asa going to be there?
Going to be.
Don't know.
Asa? Family and responsibilities. I know it's a bit harder, but Asa.
It literally seems like everybody is going to be there.
We get bunk beds, Asa.
I'm not going.
Oh, Ham, if you're there. Oh, man. I need to get it signed off on holiday, but I can't wait, man. But if it's there, Randy, you're not there. But if it's there and the E3 show bangs, for me, I'm going for the people. I meet people at Ham, Cole, everyone. But if the show is good, oh my God, that's just going to add to it. And if Fable's there, let's see. Before we talk about, well, actually, let me just, the last topic is the CMA and UK regulation stuff, but we'll add some sauce into it. But but before that, we need to talk about Nintendo Direct, because that was shown off. I know, Randy, you're not a massive thingy fan, so you can take a line of ketamine and just chill. We'll talk about Nintendo. Oh, Asa, you're not even a Nintendo guy. Ham.
He threw his Switch at the beginning of the show. At every show, he's always throwing the Switch.
Exactly, and that kind of makes it harder for me to talk about it. I was with the Iron Lords watching it live with King and Addict, and it was so much fun. But I'll blast through these. Shout out to 460 people watching. Please smash that like button. Before I do, though, I want to read out Infinite Umbra. Shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for the $5 super stickers. Shout out to Gaz, Asa, Rand, and Ham. What are you fellas playing this week? Before we do that, let's just go answer that question. Asa, what are you playing this week?
I don't know. I haven't finished Hi-Fi Rush yet, so I play bits and pieces of that with my perfect timing, cracking through it with the S rankings everywhere, nailing every beat as I do, because I'm really good at stuff. I'm not going to stream that one, so you just have to take my word for it.
Yeah, sure.
And I mentioned on Twitter that I plugged in my fancy speed editor. I didn't plug it in. I've got this fancy video speed editor, and I was like, I don't understand what it does. So I plugged my steering wheel in instead. I plugged my steering wheel instead. I've downloaded a few like Project Cars, Dirt Rally 2 and things like that. I'm going to crack on with some VR racing in anticipation for the PlayStation VR when it comes about.
I didn't hear any of that until after you showed that device. Can you please put that on screen again, just momentarily? Is that what I think it is? please. Please.
What do you think it is?
The speed editor, does it have a dial to go through the timeline?
Yes.
Oh my god, I was editing the other day. I'm like, why it is so laborious? There needs to be something. In my head, I was thinking there needs to be something I can scrub through to edit on the timeline. You just showed me that thing. We'll talk about it afterwards.
You can't have it.
They had that thing on ridiculousness that they moved around. It's the same thing.
Bro, I need that because going back and forth, splicing a clip, going back is so laborious to the point where I now cut, copy, and then paste. And that's okay. Sorry, chat. Rand, what have you been playing about Hogwarts Legacy? We know that.
Well, that's the answer.
Yep, there you go. And you, Ham, you're going to be saying the same thing, right? Anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing that. I'm going to try to get back. I'm going to try to force myself to get back into Shenmue because I love that game for my Dreamcast. What's up?
Your settings on. You sound like a Dalek about to get absolutely worked. Sound is choppy. Yeah, Gaz is having a Gaz.
I'm literally not doing anything.
Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna continue to play Hogwarts and hopefully continue to play Shenmue on my Dreamcast and Def Jam, Fight for New York. Still playing that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you still play that. I rate that so much. Such a good game. But yeah, I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush, Dead Space, and Hogwarts Legacy. But thank you, Infinite. This one, like Nintendo Direct, will speed through it. 480 people. Thank you. If you're a Nintendo fans, we'll do you some justice because I'll pick the main ones. First of all, I want to make a point about. I was a bit surprised. Well, there are a lot of expansion passes here, Asa. They've got Splatoon 3 expansion pass. You've got a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pack. You've got Mario Kart 7 Deluxe Booster Course DLC. You've got Fire Emblem expansion pack. There's another one. And I'm like, what's an expansion pack? Is that just DLC? Like additional content?
Nintendo try and run like 20 years behind the rest of the industry. So they're still on like map packs essentially. They'll catch up eventually, but this is a good thing. This is one of the few reasons I still like Nintendo because I like the way that the industry used to be in some senses. Don't pack these things with microtransactions. Give me the season passes that have content in them. I'm okay with that. And you say that I don't like Nintendo and I throw a Switch over my shoulder and all the rest of it. It might still work. I haven't turned it on since recording that clip over a year ago. I do not use the Nintendo Switch very much. But it's mostly, I don't like Mario at all. As a character, he shouldn't exist in this century as far as I'm concerned. But Nintendo's like fringe IP, Splatoon, Fire Emblem, things like that, Metroid. These actually appeal to me quite a lot. Xenoblade, I want to play that. So actually Nintendo have games that I am fairly certain I would like if they only had some good hardware for me to play them on.
I think a lot of people are in your boat as well, including me. I will still play them on the aging hardware, but not okay. That's where we don't agree. But yeah, no, the aging hardware is a problem. It's kind of putting me off stuff, including the big ones. Well, Disney Illusion Island is a very special looking game. Sounds weird, and I was watching it live with the Lion Lords, and I was like, "What's this?" It's like you guys are getting hyped about Mickey. This looks like a game that has a lot of character, really well built. Did you check this out, Ham? Disney Illusion Island, and something would you play?
No, I'm not playing that.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not even going to ask you, Rand. I'm not going to ask you if you've ever played Metroid Prime.
I have played Metroid Prime. I love Metroid Prime.
What?
Metroid Prime is amazing. I had a GameCube. Metroid Prime and the trilogy is... I've honestly thought about hooking my Switch up just to play Metroid Prime Remaster.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm surprised. Metroid Prime was amazing on GameCube, but I had spite for it because me and my brother had a beef. I was a Halo guy, and he put Metroid Prime against it, which didn't even make any sense. But in my stupid Xbox fanboyism, I had this hate, which is gone now because PlayStation replaced that. But is Metroid Prime Remastered in HD? You might actually buy it.
You know it's interesting about this game, and we were talking about it on the podcast yesterday. One of our listeners asked this question, and me and Jess hadn't thought about it until it was asked. It was like, was this game supposed to, because you know how it's digital shadow dropped, right? Hey, you can play it now digitally, but the physical version's coming on February 22nd, I believe, right?
Yeah.
What if, right, Asa, am I correct? Is that when the physical version of Metroid Prime is releasing? Like February 22nd?
You're always right,
It is
Rand.
later. I think it's 22nd. It's after the digital one, which is
But
weird.
like, what if the plan was to release, you know, the game on February 22nd as well as the digital version, but then they saw the response to Hi-Fi Rush and the Shadow Drop, so then they changed it to Shadow Drop it early and then have the physical version later. And it was something that made me and Jess pause and be like, you know, maybe that's possible.
Nintendo, they see things happen and they mark it in the calendar for 20 years' time.
I mean, maybe it's not, but it was just something I didn't think of. Where it's like, oh, because how many people are buying it digitally, where Nintendo gets more of a cut now? You know, because FOMO is the thing, right? People don't want to miss out, and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy Metroid instead of waiting for the physical edition because you have to wait a couple weeks. It's like, oh, I'm going to buy it digitally. I just wonder if the plan was always to drop the digital version first and wait, or if it was all supposed to come out on the 22nd, and then they saw the response to Hi-Fi Rush, and they're like, let's do that with Metroid. It'd be interesting.
Santi's naughty. He's been playing it on the Steam Deck. We
That's
don't
not
promote
naughty.
piracy.
So he's pirating it? Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean he hasn't bought it. You can pirate, you can play things, you can emulate things ethically on the Steam Deck.
That's the term.
That's what he's done.
Emulation.
Santi confirms that in chat.
There's even a new emulator for the 360 that you can use on the Xbox.
My friend is working on that. That's quite interesting. Yeah, he's been working on it. He's going to make a lot of money. But yeah, no, the emulating is a bit of a gray area that likes of Oh No, It's Alex has no hesitation in promoting, which I like. I'm a piracy baby since PlayStation was chipped back home in Pakistan. I got loads of chipped games. It's the only way you could afford to play all those games, and it made me what I am today, a piece of shit. No, like I've managed to play so many games on PlayStation 1 as a result, and 2 as a result of piracy, and games I would have never been able to play. So I don't feel the ethical, like, I feel bad. I stole from the devs. How could I steal from the devs when I would have never had the money to play those games? I was looking at as Final Fantasy, you know, I signed up to Sony's like gift card thing. I was just staring at the back of my box for ages. I looked at this postcard from Final Fantasy, imagining it for ages. I never got to play it. I never got to play Final Fantasy 7 after I chipped it even, because there's problems with the multi-disc thing or whatever. But yeah, so like emulation or not, I am not judging you in chat. I'm not promoting it, but this is a game like...
Guy said he ain't stealing, he's surviving.
Exactly. Look, in these times, I mean, Game Pass to me feels like almost like piracy. It's so good, and it's not a Paris Lily shill line. I'm just genuinely like, that's what it reminds me of, like of so many games. Plus, I game share, and Colt Eastwood buys a lot of games. Now I feel like I have to buy a lot of games, but it's just great. And Metroid Prime Remastered, even on Switch, I might get it on Steam Deck and support the devs. Actually buy the game on Switch, but that looks great. Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. It's finally coming, 12th of May. People in chat, let me know if you're hyped for it. This is a time for a poll, which I will do. But Rand, surely this one you'll be intrigued to play. You're playing Hogwarts Legacy. Why would you be biased, if you are, against Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom? Did you like Breath of the Wild? That was Jeff Grubb's #1 game of all time. Did you see his list?
I saw I didn't look at it, but I've never played Breath of the Wild.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
I don't care about Zelda. I'm sorry, I just don't. I haven't even watched this. I haven't watched this trailer. I have no idea what this trailer even shows. I just don't. I'm sorry, guys. I don't care.
That's fair enough. I mean, Jeff Grubb got so much flack for his top 200 list of best games ever doesn't even feature Halo. I was like, oh.
Well, if he doesn't like Halo, he doesn't like Halo. It was in a personal list.
It's a personal list, but what I didn't like is that Ocarina of Time is number 58 on his
Bro,
list.
if I was making that list,
Yeah.
if I was making that list, I wouldn't have any Nintendo games in my top 200. I'd have 0. Maybe Punch Out, maybe Super Mario Brothers 3, and that'd be it. It'd be like literally no Nintendo games. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, his list wasn't that bad. I actually thought it was a good list. I just found the numbering or the positioning a bit weird. 58 for Ocarina of Time. For me, it would be much higher. But Breath of the Wild number 1. I can see why it would be, but this game, Asa, sure. Ham, every time I name your name, even though you're a guest, I'm so nervous. Say something.
Yeah.
There it is. It works.
I changed mics because this one was just driving me insane. So hopefully you can hear me now.
Definitely. Thank you. Oh,
it's a little less quality, but it works. So
it's
whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I think of when it comes to Nintendo as a whole, not even just like Breath of the Wild. When I think of it, it kind of reminds me of a 50 Cent song. I think the song was called like Wangsta or something like that. You remember that? Where it's like, so. Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie. The fuck happened to you? That part. That's exactly how I feel when it comes to Nintendo. It was like, damn, you were the man, but I don't follow you anymore. I don't rock with Nintendo no more. I don't. I still support it. I'll still buy it because I want to keep up with the stuff because I'm just a gamer and I just do that. I mean, just because it's not my priority doesn't mean I don't want it. But at the same time, it's just like I cannot watch a Nintendo Direct without getting tired. You know, and
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I was on Iron Lords. I was like, what is this? Is it started yet? Are they going to show the good stuff? Are they going to show? But Nintendo has its own fan base. I know what you mean, Ham.
It does, and like I said, for me, I'm not gonna say I grew past it as if I'm above it, but I just didn't grow with it, and like we separated a long time ago. I still play it and enjoy some games. I love Smash Brothers. I'll still buy the new Mario that comes out. Sorry, Asa, but but I tell you what, I'm not day one on anything Nintendo.
Fair enough. For me, I am day one. I was day one on GoldenEye, which is pretty much Nintendo. Special Nick is in the chat. He completely abandoned GoldenEye.
He has completely abandoned GoldenEye.
It's good call.
Yeah, a great call.
Smart man. Because that port was 100% disrespectful.
Okay.
Well, no, he wouldn't say that. He would say that port's great, and it's Game of the Year contender for this year, which is you need to actually beat the game first, Nick, before you can say it's a Game of the Year contender.
That's insane, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I mean, Nick, I'm sure you're a great dude. I don't know who you are, but no.
He publicly now said that GoldenEye is shit and he's a fraud. No, he didn't say that. But piss off.
I mean, that wouldn't be the wrong thing to say.
No, but you hyped it. You are hyping it. I mean, it doesn't have to complete it. I mean, I 100%ed it because I had a personal. I didn't even think I was going to 100% it, but I just got stuck because in the nostalgia. But Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the game that everyone needs to keep an eye out on because that is the one that could potentially steal the Game of the Year award from potentially Microsoft and Starfield. And I'll be there for it. If Tears of the Kingdom, I will say this is going to be a very controversial take as people just like Nintendo fans especially. Tears of the Kingdom, though, I'm a bit worried that looks like an expansion pass to me. That looks like DLC. But I'll be honest, like mechanically, it has some cool mechanics, the hovercraft thing and stuff. But I'm like, this looks like an expansion pass. It's up, but I said that about Majora's Mask, so maybe I'm a prick. So I don't know. But yeah, there was other things. Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on Switch. It was like Octopath Traveler 2. I have no idea about, but everyone tells me it's a great game, and I haven't played it.
I want it. I really liked the first one mostly. Really want the second one very much. Yep, not on the Switch.
On the PlayStation because there's not an Xbox.
No, which is like a weird story in itself because Octopath Traveler, the first one, came out on Switch, and at some point it came out on PC, and then it came out on Xbox and Game Pass. Never came out on PlayStation, but the sequel is everything except Xbox, which is a little bit odd. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
I got a
Octopath
quick question
Traveler
for you,
2. I'm
guys.
all over that one.
It's definitely your internet, not your microphones. What's up, bro? How?
It
Did you say
still
something?
happens to me. Yeah. I said I have a question for you. You can hear me, right? So it's something to do with my internet, right? I guess whatever. But god dang. I was gonna ask you what's the difference to you, and I want to hear this from Rand as well. I got a question for pretty much the panel, Asa as well. What's the difference to you between saying like something just feels like DLC compared to it being, number 2 or something like the next version of the game? Because
That's a good question. That's
in
a
my
very good
eyes-
question.
Don't elaborate. Your microphone's really bad
In my
right
eyes-
now. just leave it at that.
I'm so sorry, Ham. This is so harsh. You don't know what we're talking about. It's like a reverse world in chat. It's like, but I'm so sorry. Just go let him finish the question, Asa. You piece of shit. Look, he's a lovely guest. He's waiting for the show, and technology's fucking
my
over.
God.
You want to
back.
there you go. You're
Do
fine.
it.
Say now.
So I went back to my old mic that you said was terrible. And
working.
but
Massive
anyways,
delay, that's fine.
anyways, anyway, I was saying that like, what's the difference between the sequel and a game feeling like DLC? Because I'm a little confused when people say that, especially when a game's on the exact same console as the first one. What are we anticipating that makes us call a game DLC versus the next iteration?
That's a very good question.
It's just a way,
Rand,
it's just a way to put down a game. That's all it really is. It's like, hey, this game that is successful that has a sequel looks like the game that it's a sequel to. Yeah, no shit. Like,
no, I disagree with that.
no. But come on, like, I think personally, when people bring out it's just DLC, it's used as a way to discredit the game.
It definitely
That's
is.
really
used
all it
in
is.
history. But no, with God of War, there were.
Oh, here we go. God of War. God of War is always the example, isn't it? You damn Xbot, you damn
Let's
Xbot.
go. It's messy. We're getting messy now. Oh, God. I'm sorry.
I'm not doing that. Don't put that label on me because I picked God of War. God of War had the creator.
Well, okay,
of
but here's the
God
thing,
of War.
guys.
Creator
What
of God
other
of
game? Sure, I know what Jaffe said. What other game would you have picked? The first thing in your mind when you said, "Hey, DLC, this sequel's a DLC," you went to.
Zelda?
Okay, Zelda. Okay, well, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I don't really know. So you think Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom would be the same sort of stuff that people were saying about God of War Ragnarok, that it's just DLC, essentially.
I have some concerns based on but it's Nintendo, it's Zelda, so I shouldn't be. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, I had the same thing years ago when I played Ocarina of Time, probably in my top 3 of all time. And Majora's Mask came out, and I'm like, oh, it's just like the same thing, but a little bit extra. But it's a full game. People will not call it expansion pass. The same way. And I didn't play it as a result because it didn't get me excited. And I'm thinking, like, but I may be wrong. Buying it day one, but I feel like, what is it that's so different? The same thing with Destiny 2. Ham, to answer your question, do you recycle the same enemy types? You change the same types to change the skin, maybe some of the behaviors and like the powers or gun bullets, whatever come out. Destiny 2 looked like an expansion to Destiny 1. I boycotted it for that reason. Every time I see it, all the strikes and everything, it's the same recycled stuff. God of War, it was a little bit different. This is what I was trying to say. It was a very conservative. It started off as DLC and then they fully fleshed it out. I'm not trying to discredit God of War because that's a fully fledged experience, very close mechanically to this old game, but refined to a point where you can't call it DLC. Whereas with this one, I'm like, the upgrades seem a little bit conservative, but then it's Nintendo. It's Shigeru. They're going to do some madness. Is it Shigeru?
I don't know. I feel like this is more. Well, you brought up a example from the 64 era, but like when I look at the 360 era and when we actually were getting sequels to games every other year, or I never thought Assassin's Creed 2 or Assassin's Creed 3 or Assassin's Creed Brotherhood were DLCs from the first game, right? Or even from 2. I never thought BioShock 2 was a DLC to BioShock, or any of the other I didn't think Dead Space 2 was DLC to Dead Space. right? I sort of feel like the DLC moniker is more prevalent now as a way to put down, the developers reusing assets because how games take a long time to make, so they're going to try to streamline as much as they can. I feel like that's more prevalent now than it ever was during a time when we used to get sequels every other year. I mean,
Yeah.
do you feel that way at all? Is it just me?
Well, depends. I mean, that's a good way of framing it because, like, in context, and BG in the chat says hot take: sequels should be the original
They
game.
should be.
Just improvements.
They should be. Like, did anybody say Uncharted 2 was DLC for Uncharted 1, or Uncharted 3 was DLC to Uncharted 2, or Gears 2 was DLC to Gears 1? I mean, there's sequels. People enjoyed the first one. They want more of it, but a little bit better, and that's what sequels are supposed to do. And I find it odd that, like, people are like, Ragnarok's just DLC, and it's like, well, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't think Ragnarok's as good as 2018, but I feel like it's just a way to just to
I think
dismiss the game out of hand. That's basically all it is to me.
But to me, it means that the changes are very conservative looking, to the point where I question, because DLCs exist, expansion pass exists, so do sequels. There's obviously a transition period. It's not like, where is it lie? Like, when do we call DLC a sequel? Like, it's an incremental upgrade at one point with more content. That's what DLC is. When is it okay to call DLC sequel? Because there's no hard line then. Who's deciding? Like,
when it's a sports game, it's DLC.
That's it done. The topic is ended. I don't think so. I think, like, with the way, but Destiny 2 to me was egregious. Like, in that sense, I thought it was way too conservative for a sequel. Overwatch, what the hell is that about? Is that really Overwatch 2 to you? Do you think that's okay? Let's take Overwatch 2 as an example. Do you think that's valid sequel? It's not even 1.5 to me. It's a 1.3.
Well, I mean, there are some companies that are very greedy when it comes to certain things, maybe that's more the exception than the rule, essentially.
Outside of the campaign, I thought Vanguard was DLC.
Like Ham said, like, what about sports? Sports games are mostly the same year from year because they got to put it out every single year. So, like, how many changes can you really expect them to do between Maddens and 2Ks and stuff and FIFAs?
Yeah, sports games, they have a history of actually taking the piss, but they upgrade it and we accept it. Sport fan, the mainstream do, but they're pretty bad for that. But I just think, like, there's this question of, like, what actually signifies a sequel. I don't think it's that clear cut, and we should just accept, like, the developer said it's a sequel, then most likely it is, and we should just get, like, BG, you mentioned some upgrades, but then DLC can be classified as a sequel unless you're talking about game length. It's a nuanced topic. Asa,
here's really quickly. I guarantee you, when Spider-Man 2 shown off with gameplay, people will say it's DLC 100%. For Spider-Man and Morales. But even on the Xbox side, I bet you whenever they show Outer Worlds 2, people will just say it's DLC for Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Because Xbox doesn't really make a lot of sequels, mainly because a lot of their franchises that they tried to introduce during the Xbox One era were one and dones.
Yeah.
But if they ever try to really do sequels now, they'll be like, oh, well, that's just like the first game. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the whole point. People like it, like the idea of, like, God of War Ascension or God of War reinventing itself doesn't happen very often in the games, right? It's something that happens very little. So I'm not
asking for a reinvention of the wheel, but I think that there needs to be enough, like, even Zelda, like, I always forget the name of this game, though, I'm so Tears of the Kingdom. There needs to be enough meat there to say, like, this is very different for it to be classified as a sequel. And it's not simple. There's, like, a nuanced topic. You'll play that game and say, all right, you added completely whole new dungeons that changed everything. So, because, the dungeons in Breath of the Wild, there were like 200 little mini puzzles. If they carry that on, but different puzzles, that's not enough. The boss battle dungeons, they need to change tremendously. If it's the same old, but you're solving this puzzle, then navigating to the end boss, I think that's not good enough. Then I will come out and say that this is barely a sequel. I'm not saying that this is my concern. I just looked at the trailer. I'm like, there are some mechanics there that look like it could be really good. Let's see how transformative that is experience. Sorry, I've ranted about it. Asa, sorry. What do you think about that?
You're getting there eventually between you. I'm very much in Rand's camp in that I would say it is very often used just to discredit and disparage games, particularly in like the console warring scene. People just like to levy it as a criticism, but there is some substance to the conversation in that developers and publishers and studios are going to be looking to make cost savings and be efficient wherever possible. And you were talking about like the perception of value, so we need to feel like we are getting our money's worth in whatever it is that they deliver, whether it be on the same map, whether it recycles some enemies, whether it uses the same animations. And you can look at a game like Elden Ring. Nobody's disputing the value of Elden Ring. One, because it was 50 quid, not 70. Two, because it delivers a hell of a lot. But it's reusing animations from Dark Souls. It's reusing spells and things from Dark Souls. Like there's a lot that is recycled because From Software aren't idiots, and you don't put in a load of work to reinvent the wheel for no reason. But it is all about perception of value. And when there are massive cost savings made, so if you get like going way back to Crackdown 2, it took 8 months to make. And that was DLC because that used the Crackdown 1 map. They spent 8 months and they shit something out. And then you start looking at the perception of value and you wonder, when are these savings passed on to us? Like if you're making all of these gains in efficiency and things, and it comes back to that whole conversation that we have frequently about setting a price of a game and building a game up to it rather than building something and charging a fair price. So there's definitely like there's some merit to having discussions about like how much is new, how much value there is to us as gamers, and how much we are paying for it. But more often than not, like God of War Ragnarok, people that went off on that one being DLC and reusing animations was like they've delivered a massive game with far too many chests full of hack silver. So I don't think anybody that's playing it is really going to dispute that they've made enough effort to justify that being a sequel, but I'm sure there are still people out there that do.
Well, you mentioned the price point, and working up to the price point, this game is $70, a Nintendo game, and that is where it makes things a little bit more murky. Like now, the pressure is on. How are you justifying this price? Can someone explain to me why this game is $70?
Yeah, I can.
Tell me, Rand.
Because everyone's still going to buy it. That's
taking
the justification. Because guess what? Everyone's still going to buy it at $70. People are going to be lining up on the streets to play Zelda, so they can get away with it. They probably can't get away with some of their other titles, but they're going to be like, Zelda? No, you're gonna pay this $10 upgrade of $70. You may complain about it, but guess what? At the end of the day, you're going to open up your wallet, you're going to use your credit card, and you're going to spend it. It doesn't matter that it's not on the Switch 2 and it's better looking and better performance. It's you're going to give us that money.
I mean,
Do you know what?
That's
like,
taking the
minor defense for Nintendo, and I'm a consumer and I'm not in favor of prices going up. But I did read something that said that Nintendo are giving all of their staff a 10% wage increase.
They did.
And if you look at like, there's always these conversations around like inflation and what the economy is doing and all the rest of it, and that applies broadly to all of these publishers. But if you look at what Sony and Microsoft are doing, they're recouping a lot of that by expanding their audience. So Microsoft are obviously doing the whole Game Pass thing and completely revolutionizing the way that they distribute games. Sony are putting their games onto PC. So they're all looking to expand how much revenue they make. Nintendo, it would be nice if they were to put their games on PC, but they're not. So their avenue to expand on their revenue is to squeeze the audience that they've got and say, you love Zelda and Mario, you little dickheads, pay us money. And that is what they're going to
do. And that's the thing. No statement, no nothing. We know you're going to pay $70. That's why you're going to pay it. Other games will be 60, and that's Baham. That's, bruh, like, come on. That's taking the pill. Where's your take on the $70 thing with Zelda?
I think it's absolutely BS, in my opinion. Am I coming in good this time?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I'm so sorry that you've had these issues. I'm so sorry.
Man, I've been working in the background just trying to get this all figured out, trying to figure out why it sounds perfect on my end, because I go to listen to my voice and it sounds perfect, and then you guys say, oh, it sounds terrible, and I'm just like, what the heck is happening? But anyways, as for this game, I don't understand why the heck I mean, I understand what Rand said, people will buy it. Exactly. But like, to me, it's just like, when are we going to draw the line? at some point because we are the consumers, and I swear, like the willingness for a lot of these people to hop out and buy this were the same people saying, "Why the heck is Xbox raising their prices?
I'm the
Why
same.
the heck did PlayStation raise their price? Why did EA raise their price? Why did 2K raise their price?" But as soon as it's their game, oh, A-okay. Not a problem.
I'm not there.
Take my money. Actually, you know what? While we're at it, why don't I just spend $120 and get a nice little coloring book with it while I'm at it? Like, it's just like I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. And it's just like, dude, this is 6-year-old hardware. For the most part, the last thing that you got that's upgraded for this thing is a network adapter and a OLED screen that makes you see the flaws in a much prettier light.
much more clearly. Oh wow, this is really ancient. Yeah, but you see, okay, this is a kind of controversial take. Not that I'm meaning to be that, just for the sake of it, but that price point, gentlemen, combined with potentially, I'm the only one saying this, so I may be wrong, and I'm holding my hand there, potentially conservative upgrade from Breath of the Wild, reviewers should take that into account strictly on the price point as well when assessing the value of this game and quality as well. I feel like that should play. Normally, I wouldn't say price makes a difference that much. Well, kind of in a review, but I don't want Nintendo to get an easy ride through this because it's Zelda. Because we all got that Nintendo bias.
I don't.
You don't. I do. But I think they get. I think Breath of the Wild is. I think it's a little bit overrated as well. I loved it. You don't understand. It took over my gaming. What it did make me feel feelings I thought I had lost since Ocarina of Time. Still think it's a tad bit underrated because of overrated because the dungeons were weak. But this game, I don't want Nintendo to get a pass because it's got the Zelda banner on it and I'll charge you that price tag. So I'm going to be very happy when I play it, hopefully, and very eagerly looking into it. But I think Nintendo's been getting a bit of a little free kind of ride with reviewers critically because of nostalgia. And I feel like it's time to change that. Maybe.
Yo, Gaz, I seen the writing on the wall with this because I have a show that I do every Wednesday where it's just me. I don't have any other panel members or whatnot, and I'm just like talking about the news and stuff like that. And I had read the thing that Ace had just brought up about the whole 10% increase in wage, and that had came out and whatnot. Pretty much, I felt like it was a response to them fire or trying to fire somebody for asking about unionization in gaming, which Xbox is out there trying to bring, right? But when I was reading the very next article that had to do with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, they had said that Best Buy or GameStop or a couple different people selling this game during the actual article, when they first wrote it, they said, yo, they are selling pre-orders at GameStop and Best Buy and yada, yada. And then at the very end of the article, it said, those stores that had the pre-orders have now delisted and they are no longer available to be pre-ordered. And I was like, it's going to be $70.
Yep.
That's exactly the first thing I was thinking. And I was just like, dude,
it was looking like it.
Come on.
And that's how it, and very, very little resistance there. So let's see. Let's see how that works. Reverse World, thank you for the $2 super check. My Zelda reaction, not a shoe-in for Game of the Year. And Reverse World, to be honest with you, as a very big Zelda fan, I was feeling the same way. I feel like, it didn't blow my mind. It didn't blow my socks off. It didn't. It's just like, okay. It looks like it has potential, but it didn't blow me away. And so Starfield might have a better chance of Game of the Year.
Do you guys agree? Do you guys agree though that Elden Ring ruined $70 price titles? Game of the Year last year for $60. And how many games have been able to live up to their price tag like Elden Ring has?
I don't. Well, Elden
Look
Ring.
at all the $70 games that have came out lately or within the past year. Callisto Protocol. We got Dead Space.
Overpriced.
We got which is a good game. We got Forspoken, God of War, Tiny Tina's, NFL 2K, or NBA 2K, NFL Madden. Like, how many of those games can you say, man, that's worth an extra $10 compared to the game of the year the last 2 years? It Takes Two and Elden Ring, both cheaper and known to be better.
I mean, I've said before, I don't think any of the games that I played so far have justified their $10 increase. Yet, at least. Maybe they will by the end of the generation, but I haven't played a single game that I was like, okay, yeah, I see why this was $10 more, right? Ham brings up a good point. I don't know if people think about it like that, where it was like, hey, Elden Ring offered so much content for $60, it makes other games that are $70 look worse by comparison. I don't think people view it like that. I think they just look at Elden Ring as like an incredible game that kind of bucks a lot of the open world trends that a lot of these current open world games are built on, where it's like, hey, it's not handholdy, I don't open up the map and there's not icons all over the place. It's like, I'm the one making the discovery, I'm figuring these things out. And I think that's a breath of fresh air in the current climate, where a lot of open world video games are the opposite, where it's like extended tutorials and let me hold your hand and XP and all this other stuff. So, but yeah, I will say the whole $70 game stuff, which is still, I mean, we knew it was inevitable, right? Sony was like, hey, we're doing it. And then like a lot of the other third parties jumped on because, hey, what was the argument? We've been $60 for too long, and game price and make the cost of making games has gone up, so we need to charge more. And then Microsoft jumped on the bandwagon, which we sort of knew was going to happen. I figured it would happen by Starfield, and it did. I thought Nintendo would join the bandwagon for the next console with the Switch 2.
They actually did it with Skyrim before they did it with Tears of the Kingdom, and everybody was blaming Microsoft for Nintendo selling Skyrim at $70.
Well, the version of Skyrim they're selling at $70 is the version that also comes with
like
all
the complete
extra,
one, right?
Yeah, like all the extra DLC and stuff. But yeah, I just personally, I have yet to play a game where it was like, yep, $10 makes sense. You know, it's really haven't yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm there with you. Sorry.
Some other people have said Hi-Fi Rush is another good example. Hi-Fi Rush, actually, I'll park that for a moment. Elden Ring in the UK was 50 quid, not 60. So we got a bigger saving over here. Elden Ring is 50, and the likes of the PlayStation games, the Xbox games are 70. That's a massive, massive difference in perception. And as you said, Rand, Elden Ring is like, it's a phenomenal game that stands in its own right. But if it was 70, I don't know if I would have got it at the point that I did. 50 it's a massive drop from that. So it made a big difference to me. But Hi-Fi Rush dropped at 30 quid, $30, and notably didn't have a physical edition. And we've spoken about this loads and loads and loads before, about games hitting the 70 price point, setting that before the game is even a thing. Like they set this price and they build a game up to it, and that's wrong. But a big part of the reason for that is the physical distribution model. So the whole industry needs to decouple. Yeah, the whole industry needs to decouple. But no disc.
You don't get the disc in that? Oh, fuck.
No, you get the hammer and then a piece of paper that says, here's a code, bud.
Yeah. Well, Asa, do you
in
feel...
an empty box.
With Hi-Fi Rush, I felt after playing it, I felt it was actually... should have been more expensive. I felt like after playing it, like this should have been maybe a $40 or $50 game. Like there was more than enough content to justify a higher price point.
I'm benchmarking against other games. But the key for Hi-Fi Rush is there is no physical thing. So a long time ago, when Microsoft and Sony introduced these digital stores, they justified having the same price as they have at brick and mortar stores by saying, like, if we undercut it, then the likes of GameStop and so on are not going to sell our consoles. We need to keep the price parity so that people still go to stores and we still get the shelf space because it's really important. And that was a long time ago and is not really applicable anymore. So time to decouple the prices, charge whatever you want for physical distribution that has associated costs for getting these discs into stores and giving cuts to those stores, and set digital marketplaces free, like it is on the PC side, more or less, where pricing is a very different concept over there.
And there's a lot more fluid there. I don't understand why the digital landscape on consoles.
But
it's because they get away with it, and that's why it doesn't get.
Ace is suave and slimy because he didn't really answer my question. I asked the question. Do you think there's enough content in Hi-Fi Rush that it could have been? They could have been $40 or $50.
Rand, so I attempted to address it. So if you are benchmarking it against other games that are already out there, then you could argue that it's got enough content to hit that value point. But I will never ever sit here and argue for higher prices for games.
No. I'm not. I'm just saying. When I finished it, I thought, man, they could easily have sold this for $40. And people still would have been like, "Oh, this is a damn good value," or even sold it for $50 because of how good the game actually is and how much there actually is in the game.
It's difficult though, because like when you are distributing digitally like they are, which is why I mention it, then the equation is very simple. It's like how much are you selling it for and how many copies are you selling. So selling it for a higher price doesn't necessarily get them more revenue. And we've got very few data points to like prove that out and see what a game would sell. Would it sell more than twice as many copies if it was half the price? Probably yes, in most cases. So,
but it's the point of the value point I find interesting is that we are gleaning the value here. And Rand, I haven't completed it, so I don't know how long the experience is, but if that kind of quality shines through, and as a consumer, you feel like, I got a good deal there. I think that's a feeling that every game should evoke. Like, I was thinking of an idea for a game. I want people to feel at the end of it is like, that was amazing. And that was incredible. And I felt like I paid.
If Forspoken was 35 quid, I would own it by now.
Maybe a lot more people would as well, because Forspoken got buried by Hi-Fi Rush.
Well, that was like the $70 price point on that one probably hurt. Right, where it was like, oh, I don't know, a new IP, not really sure, it doesn't look good. Then the reviews came in, they're like, nah, I'll wait for a sale on this if I ever play it at all, right?
Yeah.
Where $70 for God of War Ragnarok doesn't matter because the first game sold the sequel, so it's like everybody's like, I don't care about the $10 price increase, I need to be there. You know, but $70 hurts, like for Spoken,
that is the other, like the nuanced point that makes it harder to say that the lower prices definitely better is that games aren't sold at just one price point, so they can sell a game at 70 and also sell it at half that price later on, so it does get a little bit complicated when you look at it like that. But.
I mean they do they like Mike Rose said, they'll charge you a high price, rinse all the early adopters, and then they're like, all right, for the people who are more patient, not bigger fans, here's a discount. And
I believe Hogwarts Legacy $70, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know because my buddy Game shared it with me, so I didn't just pay for it, so I didn't know how much it is. It's $70, right?
It is $70.
Yeah, so that's next gen only.
No, that's on. It hasn't released yet for last gen. It releases in April on Xbox One and PS4, and then I think at the same time on Switch.
The Switch later.
Yeah,
for the Switch even later. The Switch is the last one.
I do not know how that game is going to run on last gen because it doesn't run the greatest on current gen.
I'm so excited to see how it runs on the Switch, just to see somebody play it. I don't want to buy it there, but I just want to see somebody play it there.
It's gonna, like BG says, it's gonna run like trash. It is gonna. There's a reason why they've done that. Like even on performance mode, I see that the pop-ins are coming on every time you go into it, but then it loads up and it looks nice. So it's like, okay. But yeah, it's gonna run like shit. I'm telling you right now, all of them, especially the Switch. But
it's probably why it was delayed as well. Probably because it ran like shit and they couldn't release it in that state.
Yeah, you know? Which is fair enough. They've got the reviews out the gate, big review scores. If that reviewed and they released the last gen ones, then it's a time, isn't it? Say goodbye to last gen. It's holding everything back. Say goodbye.
Maybe that's what Cyberpunk should have did. They should have just released the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions and delayed the last gen versions.
100%.
Exactly. Definitely should have done that.
Or cancel the last gen versions or whatever.
It's harder then because there are not many PS5s and Xbox Series consoles in the wild, and now obviously that's changed, and now it's more enticing.
Oh,
to
yeah,
move
that is
into
true.
Current gen a little bit more. A shout out to Sheriff for being a member. Yeah, good to see you in the chat after a long time. Last topic, but this is a big one. CMA versus UK. The deal is dead. Everyone is crying. Well, you know what? We had a nice chat about this, Asa, didn't we, in the background? Asa was like, oh, well, this is going to stir the hornet's nest. Asa, you thought the deal was dead when Microsoft CMA...
No, I would never be that kind of...
determined, yeah.
Well, what's the word? Oh, I don't presume anything because I don't know what's going on, really. I typically shy well away from this topic because I don't care. I will say that I dislike Activision as a publisher and have done for a long time, as you know, full well. So my main interest in the deal is I would like to see Blizzard working in better circumstances than they have been for quite a long time now. Besides that, I think the language that the CMA were using was pretty strong. I've seen some analysts and things read that in the opposite direction and say that they're leaving things open and the deal will be done in no time. But I'm going to let you talk about it, guys. You're the lawyer. So go for it.
Yeah, you are the lawyer, guys. Come on.
Well, I'm not a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, but I was reading this document, and to me, well, first of all, I will say I'm very surprised by people's reactions, or I was. Like, I didn't think, like, everyone's like, the deal is dead. And everyone, even Jez, your buddy Jez was like, fuck the CMA. They're messing
He gets
up.
emotional. He gets emotional.
I don't kind of blame him for the
He wants.
CMA.
It's very much like Asa. He wants Blizzard to be free and World of Warcraft and he wants StarCraft to come back, and he feels if Kotick is still in power and Activision's by itself, it'll never happen. And the only chance that it could happen is if Xbox buys them. So that's why.
If I'm right, Rand, that's his backyard, so he's extra disappointed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, because he feels the CMA doesn't understand the video game industry, which
It's
maybe they do, maybe
true.
they don't. And he went on a big rant about it yesterday on the show.
I'm glad he did. I was listening to that, and look. Well, okay. I get Jez's take on it. It's frustrating, and I'm with him there. And I'm not even as big as Activision Blizzard as maybe Asa. You're a big WoW player at the time as well. So was I, but not a big WoW player. But I played WoW for quite some time.
Kind of. World of Warcraft has special meaning in terms of this acquisition. In that I didn't like World of Warcraft when it came out, but I did play it for a time with a group of friends and had some fun. But I watched Activision absolutely bastardize the way that game was monetized to the point that I couldn't really stomach it anymore. And it's not just my big Blizzard game that I actually really liked was Warcraft 3. So before World of Warcraft, I played a lot of Warcraft 3. I liked that game a lot. I liked StarCraft, didn't play it as much, and some of their older stuff was really, really good. But World of Warcraft was like, it told a story in itself in terms of it was fairly controversial for being a subscription-based game when it came out, because not many companies could pull that off and get money on a subscription basis. Game was just like vomited at the thought of paying monthly for a game back in those days, but it did really well. But that wasn't enough. And Activision got in there, so now you buy the game, you buy the expansions, you subscribe month by month, and there's a cash shop, and you can buy the main currency. And you see this happen and go, no, there's like deep-rooted evil overseeing this game. And that's my main interest in in what happened. Well, yeah, pretty much. I can't say that with any certainty that he is 100% responsible for the direction of that company, but he's obviously got a big say, and things need to change.
Yeah,
I thought a bunch of people left and went to Final Fantasy, I thought.
Might have. It's a horrible working culture there. But this, there's a lot to unpack here, because Lulu Cheng Massave, cool name. She joined ABK. She's been very vocal, super on the PR front, almost cringe at some points, I think. But there were some conversations about what's going on. First of all, as far as the deal is concerned, just to summarize for people who don't know, the CMA said that they had concerns that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard could harm gamers. And then Kotick was doing the rounds on CNBC, and he says if a deal like this can't say that like an American, can't get through, they're going to be the Silicon they're not UK. The UK are not going to be Silicon Valley. They will be Death Valley. This is the same day Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the UK, was announcing a new standalone government department for science and tech. So it's like carefully picked. And then you've got the CMA had come back and said it's open to looking at possible remedies. It prefers what they call structural remedies, and that includes things that are pretty wild that would kill the deal, in my opinion, like divestment of the ABK function from Activision, or Call of Duty from the whole thing. Like, just separate it, sell it out. I mean, Microsoft not going to do that. No chance. It's just a walk away. The complete value of there is gone. But they will also look at behavioral remedies. And behavioral remedies are ones where Microsoft can prove in this very long document that they will safeguard the consumer interests, not be anti-compete, by giving us some assurances. Maybe the 10-year contract isn't enough. It seems like it's angling for something more. The wording is quite explicitly clear. We prefer structural remedies. So that's what was going on. But then, Asa, and me and you have talked about this for a while, and I've always said that I agree with you partially. I think it's doing irreparable. Let's just park the ABK relationship between Sony and Microsoft. Asa, do you not think this whole fiasco has caused irreparable damage between the two, or at least made Microsoft more intent now to be more spiteful or less conciliatory against this company in its dealings?
We'll see. So there's the angle that you normally approach this from is whether their relationship will have deteriorated with Sony, and we've seen some things this week that Sony and Activision aren't even talking at the moment. And Bobby Kotick's like, this is when we'd normally talk about future opportunities, but they're not picking up the phone. And then he threatened the whole of the UK, which was pleasant. There's no problems with big tech, but they will take down your government if you say the wrong thing. But besides that, no, my feeling about it is still that if there was, like, hypothetically, if it completely went away and Microsoft went, we're backing out of this, we're going to give them the compensation that we said, then Sony would start answering the phone and bidding as normal for rights to get marketing rights for Call of Duty, and everything would more or less be back on track. There is some animosity, and there are some shareholders that will have their view on it, but mostly the shareholders at Activision Blizzard take a back seat and let the company run itself and say, give us as much money as possible. And the company is not going to cut their nose off and say, like, we don't want your money, Sony, because Sony's massive for Activision Blizzard as an independent. Before they're over with Microsoft, Sony is massive for them, so they're not going to sabotage that relationship more than they need to. But the angle that you just played there was how Microsoft might approach things differently, because Microsoft, since Phil Spencer has taken over, have been pretty kind in terms of money hatting and timed exclusivity and all of that crap, which Xbox were big on before his time, but they reeled back on that a lot, and Sony carried on running with it. So this has been like a big discrepancy between the way the two companies have been running for the last, I don't know, since 2013 or whenever Phil Spencer took over, right? And that might change. I don't know, because Microsoft is still overseeing it. Phil can't say, this is unfair, I'm going to spend billions of dollars to destroy you. And then Microsoft will say, no, that's stupid. We're a business. But he will have more leverage to go and say, look, we need to start being competitive. We need to compete. All of that nonsense. And they might start spending a bit more and getting these timed exclusive deals that everybody hates. And reminder, we do all hate that. So hopefully not. Hopefully everyone can just back off and be nice.
Well, just to add to that point about, because you and I get where you're coming from. I'm not vehemently disagreeing with you either. And I think on the point where you think Activision will reconcile its relationship because of necessity and money talks, Lulu Mesave actually came out and answered this point. And she said, we're a partner to them. Were they worried about pissing us off when they tried to kill a really good deal that our employees wanted and that players wanted? Were they worried about pissing us off when they made all these claims that seemed to be pretty disingenuous and we didn't take it personally? They're making the case for what's the best for their business. Asa, this is coming from ABK. This is coming from Lulu saying she's been hired as their head there now, talking about whatever her role is. Forgotten the name. I'll find it. but that surely you have to relent. Things are fraying there. If they will ultimately do business, at least they will sit on a table and we're like, Sony just offered us line up, fuck it, let's just go. Assuming the deal doesn't go through, they're still independent. Microsoft, look, they're offering us $5 million. We'll take yours for 4.8 because fuck them. Yeah, okay, done. That kind of thing. I know, don't mean the numbers, but that kind of attitude, almost like Square Enix and Sony. Microsoft seems to get shat on by Square Enix because they have a relationship. These things in business thrive not just on money. I know it's a big driver, but it's predicated on relationships. It was the precursor to the ZeniMax acquisition. In
More
my
likely
opinion.
scenario. So I agree with you that could happen. Like theoretically, if they've got an on the fence opportunity with Sony and Microsoft bidding pretty much the same amount, they may get all in their feelings and side with Microsoft. But it's Microsoft, so they don't need to do that. Activision will say, Sony have offered us $5 million. Microsoft, you got fucking deep pockets, give us $6 million. And the question is whether Microsoft are willing to do that rather than like go with their feelings. They're going to extract as much money as possible and not keep it on the fence.
Yeah, that's fine. So
I agree with you in a way. Asa, but at the same time, if you're messing up Kotick's, golden parachute to leave, I feel like there could be some animosity there that could lead into, deals not being as great as they were in the past. Where I'm kind of at on this is I think if this deal goes through, ABK is going to treat Sony like it's another day. If this deal doesn't go through, that's when it's going to be pretty hard to watch. I mean, not only is this like the parachute for Bobby Kotick and whatnot, but this is Phil Spencer putting his name on the line. And then also Jim Ryan's doing the same. But at the same time, this goes above even Phil Spencer, up to like Satya and all of them. Yeah, back in the past, I just recently did an interview with Seamus Blackley, the creator of Xbox, and he came onto my channel, TSWS Gaming, shameless plug. But so he came on and he said, the guys up top just didn't understand that we need to advertise. We need to do this stuff. We need to get out there and spend money to get that stuff going on. Seamus said, Phil Spencer is talking to the right people. I was able to talk to Bill, but I couldn't talk to a whole lot of other people is what Seamus told me. Okay. Phil is really in a lot of people's pockets over at Microsoft in comparison to where Seamus was. And he seems to have, the crowd hyped compared to where Seamus, he had to like beg and plead. Hey, you guys look at me. I'm trying to get this going. Xbox is now a full on train. It got cloud gaming. It has all these different facets and ways to play Xbox on your PC. You don't even have to buy a console to be in the ecosystem anymore. They're trying to make an app for you to get on your phone to go versus the whole Google Play thing. So like they are invested heavily, and most rich guys, the people with old money, they don't like to lose. They do not like to lose, and if they lose, it is how am I going to get you back?
And that is so true, Asa. This is the thing in business. I see it all the time. You cannot, and I'm so glad you said that, Hamster. You cannot underestimate the levels of pettiness. Comes from pride. It comes from senior management, and it comes from those persons. I see it in big business all the time. I see it in my work. I see it all the time. When Lulu Cheng, she is the head of corporate affairs, is telling you, we're pissed. These are the words, pissed off. She's used that twice, pissing us off personally. These are words.
Doesn't she say we don't take it personally?
No, she's talking about, were they worried about us being pissed off? But the implication is that we are pissed off. Were they worried about pissing us off when they tried to kill a really good deal that our employees wanted and that players wanted? What do you think that means?
Hey, that's damn near in all caps text right there.
Were they really worried about pissing us off when they made all these claims that seem to be pretty disingenuous? And we didn't take it personally.
There.
They're making the best for the best. But the wording is that she's like, we didn't take it personally, but we are pissed. She's saying that. That's the wording. You have to read between the lines. We're not taking it personally. They're doing best for their business, but we are pissed off.
Mm-hmm. But they'll continue to do the best for their business, right? Like, that's what it says. That's the conclusion, isn't it?
They're doing the best they're doing for their business, but we are pissed off. We didn't take it personally, but we are pissed off. Of course they are. The employees at ABK, they have the most to lose out on it. If this deal tanks, the share prices will tank. No chance, $95 a share. No
it's more,
way.
You say employees, it's difficult to know how much. It's the decision makers that obviously matter here, because you've got shareholders that are, by and large, and I don't know, I've not looked into who owns Activision Blizzard King stocks and shares, but this is largely like investment brokers gambling on stocks going up or down, rather than people that actually care about the video game industry. So they're not going to care. They're just going to want those stocks to be worth as much as possible. The employees, they might care, but they don't get any say in anything that happens. And there's a board level, like an executive board at Activision Blizzard King, that will be making these decisions, and their job is to satisfy those people that have gambled on their stocks. So I don't know. We'll see. Like, I think the bigger question is how Microsoft
if Bobby
responds.
ain't happy, the investors ain't happy. If Bobby ain't happy, the investors ain't happy.
Bobby gives a shit about nothing except money. Like, he's not going to be upset about anything except money. He does not care about video games. He does not want you to have a good time. He wants to squeeze everything out of your pocket.
It's true. It is true. Maybe before I go to you, Rand, the man who's silently sitting there.
He sounds
playing
excited.
Hogwarts Legacy. I will read out the super deadly Headley. Thank you for being for a member for 7 months. He goes, missed the live show, but hope you're having a good one. Can't wait to pay £70 for the 420. I don't think it's 70 quid. I think it's 60 quid here in the UK, by the way, Deadly, for Zelda. Stay saucy and smack that like button. Yes, thank you, 515 people. Smash that like button. Face again with a $20 super chat. That's very generous. You don't always have to do $20, but keep doing it. But it's this question: I haven't read the books or watched the movies of Hogwarts. Will I still like the game? Face, if you tuned in earlier, Ham has not read the books and he's loving the game to the point where he almost beat up Rand over his opinion.
Yeah, he was very mean to me.
I verbally assaulted Rand.
He verbally assaulted me. Said I was a no good gamer, you know?
That he plays crap games.
Yeah.
He dancing for his game to score.
No, he's not. Rand is fucking. I will put rep on Rand's name. When you completed Returnal as little depth as you did, I tried. I was like, this little bitch, no way is he gonna die less than me. But the second boss had already died more times than you did and completed the game. I was like, oh shit, this guy knows how to play games. And then it turned out he completed Elden Ring and he completed everything. So
when he beat Elden Ring, I was like, how?
Yeah, people still give me shit over beating Elden Ring in like 70 hours or whatever.
Who cares? Even if you did, who cares? It's your game. It's how you want to play it.
At least I said it was my game of the year, and I actually finished it too.
Oh, I know what the reference is there.
I don't know either.
As well, thank you for the $2 super chat. Is there an outside chance a Alan Wake drops on Game Pass? I don't know.
Probably not.
Okay.
If you notice, a lot of the games that drop on Game Pass aren't exactly big AAA third-party games. It seems that ship is sailed, and it's more like higher profile AA plus. Maybe games as big as Wolong or.
I think that's good.
No. I mean, it's saying they're definitely big games, but like something like Alan Wake 2, which I expect to be a pretty big game, I doubt it would. I think the relationship between Remedy and Microsoft isn't the best. Remedy and
after
Xbox.
Quantum Break?
Yeah, I don't really feel like that is. They'd be like, no, yeah, we're not gonna. Maybe Alan Wake 2 comes to Game Pass years down the road. Very much like how I think Control came, but not right away.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Quantum Break, the failure there, and the TV push, there's a bit of animosity there. And they're not. Like, that's one of the reasons they became in like now multi-plat. So yeah, Face 23 Brooklyn, New York with a $2 super chat. Thank you. Sony doesn't care as long as Xbox doesn't own COD. Agreed. That's the whole thing. The whole counters on COD. It all revolves around COD, which I think they murked themselves a little bit there by just focusing solely on COD. But they've used COD. You think that as well? Like they should have focused on other things? Like,
Well,
I think they should have focused on the whole deal instead of just COD, because now I feel like I feel like Microsoft let Sony corner themselves with that.
I think, but at the same time, and as I'm saying that, as if I'm Sony, what can I do? Because they did use the cloud argument, albeit a bit shitty, but they went even as far as saying that we can't do cloud. Only Microsoft can do something as disruptive as cloud. So I think they've kind of, which goes to me, it says more than anything that this deal is.
I mean, because the only reason it works for COD is because of how popular and how much revenue it makes for everybody. They can't say the same about Overwatch or any of the other franchises because they just, like Sony can't say we can't live without Overwatch. You can't reasonably make that argument, but you can. And they've tried, and it seems like they're succeeding to some degree about saying how important Call of Duty is to them. And it seems like the regulators are very much, especially the CMA, well, because the FTC stuff is just completely political, right? Yeah. There's no logic behind the FTC at all. It's like, we're doing it. We're just going to try to show to everybody we're tough on tech. Big tech bad, right? So we're gonna block it, sue to block, and we don't even believe strongly enough in our case to file an injunction with federal court because we know we're gonna lose. So we're just gonna try to wait out Microsoft, and hopefully they drop it. So then we can say, look, we did our job. We said no to big tech. This is what you guys got to look in the future. You know, that's essentially what the FTC is doing. The CMA, you know, they looked at it more in depth. And it's interesting because the CMA is like, we have a couple remedies, like get rid of COD, right? Divest yourself from COD or divest yourself from Activision. And they're like, oh, well, maybe some behavioral remedies would work too, right? And in their thing, they talk about one of the things that I feel is ridiculous is that if this deal goes through, that Microsoft may have a monopoly or a powerful presence in cloud, right? They use the cloud thing, which is interesting because it's like, so Microsoft's the only one investing in cloud, right? Even though Sony bought Gaikai back in 2013 and tried to do cloud streaming, completely failed. So Microsoft's the only one trying to make cloud gaming a reality in the space, and it's not even really a market at this point. They're the only ones investing, trying to make it a thing, and the CMA is being like, you got too much of a head start. You have to, put your hands behind your back and tie handcuff yourself because what if Sony wants to do it later? And it wouldn't be fair because it would be completely out of reach because you would dominate it. But it's like, they're the only one actually trying to make it a reality. Right. And like the whole remedy thing, Gaz, about like, think about it like this. If they're okay with Xbox divesting themselves from COD, then they would be okay with Microsoft and cloud gaming. So they're essentially saying that one IP is big enough to cause lessening competition in the cloud game. They're saying that just that one thing. Because they're okay with COD being divested, therefore, the argument about cloud gaming goes through the window because they would be okay with it, right?
Exactly. Well, then they do add that clause that we would also take into account behavioral remedies.
Yeah, but depending on who you listen to, it's like they either don't mean that or they mean it, right? Michael Pachter's like, oh, this deal is going to go through by mid-May. They recognize this, but then I think Boom had someone on Luke or something on his podcast who was like a lawyer who went up against the CMA, and he's like, no, I give it like a 10% chance of passing. They're definitely going to have to do structural remedies. So depending on the analyst you listen to, you're getting a bunch of different theories about what would happen. I don't have a background in law like Gaz does, let alone a mergers and acquisitions background. I don't know what's going to happen. Back to your original point about the idea, if Microsoft offers all these behavioral remedies, whatever they would be, whatever they could satisfy them with cloud gaming and about Call of Duty, and if they don't accept them, and let's say the CMA is only like, listen, we'll only accept this if you divest yourself of COD. You think that is a no-go, a non-starter for Microsoft, that they'd walk away from the deal and be like, all right, like, we're done. Here's your $3 billion.
That's fine.
But here's the thing. I don't know if they would walk away.
Well, but if they divest themselves of COD and make
because
them
because COD isn't,
independent.
because when I rank the things that Microsoft bought this deal for, it's King first, Blizzard second, Activision and COD third.
first?
Yes, King first, like number one. The
That's what
mobile
Microsoft
thing.
just said. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is like the idea of Phil's even said if they don't have a mobile presence in the future, the Xbox business basically is finished. It's done. It's over. Like they need mobile. So like there is a reality that I think if they were like, I think they'll try to do everything they can to make this go through, including behavioral remedies, but they would have to decide, is it worth getting King and Blizzard if we have to give up Call of Duty? And they would have to make a decision if, is that what we want for a business? I don't know. I don't think anybody here knows. I don't think anybody talking about it in any of these circles knows. Anybody telling you they know for sure what's going to happen with this deal doesn't know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, Control could be different.
But I could see a scenario where they're like, okay, you know what? We'll divest ourselves of COD. We'll find a buyer. We'll sell it to Take-Two. We'll sell it to EA. We'll sell it to Amazon.
So they don't even own it. Completely divest it from business, give it to make it independent, or let someone else buy it.
I mean, that would be what they would want. I mean, maybe they could do a scenario where they own the studios and they license it out to like Ubisoft, where like Ubisoft pays them to make Call of Duty, but Ubisoft's the one who publishes it. Very much like how Tomb Raider and the Embracer and Amazon thing, where like Embracer owns Crystal Dynamics, but Amazon is publishing the next Tomb Raider game. It could be something like that, but I'm just not so sure to throw away the idea that they would completely walk away if they had to divest themselves from COD, because I think there's a scenario where they actually do it because King and Blizzard are more important to the future of Xbox and what they're trying to do across mobile and PC than what COD would bring from just like console and Game Pass. I don't know. Asa, what do you think? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, there's a few things within it where it's almost like the CMA are trying to call Microsoft's bluff and see if they mean it, because it is Microsoft that said this deal is not about Call of Duty. So the CMA are saying sell Call of Duty, and then Microsoft are like, well, we did kind of like it. Might have been a bit strong with our wording there. But maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe it is all about King and it is all about the cloud. And the cloud thing is also, it's difficult in terms of behavioral remedies, because the console space is easy in terms of what they can offer. It's all very well defined, and you can say, right, we're going to put Call of Duty on all of these platforms that we know exist. But you talk about the cloud space, and Rand makes very good points in that nobody else is big in the cloud space. Microsoft are the only ones investing in it. So all of the regulators have to be very, very careful not to kind of like stomp that space out before it comes to exist. But at the same time, Microsoft's predictions for that space publicly have been very bullish that it's going to be huge. It's going to be much bigger than the console space. And the CMA cited that Phil Spencer came out and said Sony aren't the competition, Amazon and Google are the competition. And they've said Microsoft's Xbox CEO said this. They've said that the competition is in the cloud space. So if that is true, it is very, very difficult to envisage behavioral remedies that are like, we're going to put COD on all of these platforms that don't actually exist yet. We're gonna license it out for a low cost. Trust us, please. You can enforce this. It's difficult to see behavioural remedies in that space, but a lot of what Microsoft has said is being used against them. Like, prove that you mean it.
Oh yeah, remember when we were talking about Nintendo, and it was like, well, Nintendo, because they were like, they need COD, but it was like Nintendo's been doing awesome without COD. CMA literally turned around and threw Microsoft's own words in their face and be like, oh, but you said in 2021 that your true competition is PlayStation and Nintendo's a competitor, but to a much lesser extent. So like CMA has been throwing some of the, and the way that the Microsoft handled the Bethesda acquisition about whatever they told the European Commission, right? And they're saying, well, maybe we can't trust you about your promises because you said this to the European Commission, but then you made all their games exclusive. So it's like, but then wouldn't the behavioral remedy where like it's government approved and like they have to regulate, like, that would essentially solve that. But I don't know what's going to happen with this. I'm sick of it, guys. It's been going on for a year and some months. I'm like totally over it. At least give me some juicy Jim Ryan quotes that I can make fun of, because I love myself some Jim Ryan. And we're not even getting that. We're getting Bobby Kotick out here being like, they won't return our phone calls and stuff. And Bobby Kotick is just awful. So it's like, whatever. And it's just, I'm just so over this at this point. just either like walk away and do whatever you need to do, or let's get it done and get it over with, because I don't even know what happens if they walk away, because I think ABK needs this deal more than Microsoft needs this deal.
100% they do. 100%
On
they
that
do.
though, so you say that, but it was actually also noted that ABK stocks, ignoring the deal, if you take the deal out of it and pretend it was never happening in the first place, their stocks actually bounced back quite nicely, because relative to all of the other major publishers, they got back on their feet releasing games much more strongly than anybody else.
That's because Modern Warfare 2 was way more successful than Vanguard, and they also released Overwatch 2. So their revenue was up like 60% year over year because they actually released stuff people wanted. But I don't think that's always going to be the case, right? Activision used to release all these other games in the years past, but now there's Call of Duty machine, and they were going to skip this year where the Call of Duty 2023 was just going to be like a Call of Duty Modern Warfare Year 2, and it really wasn't going to, but that plan's changed. Now it's its own separate game because they know. Yeah, that's what Tom Henderson's reporting is like. Activision knows that the strength of their stock and all those things is tied to the revenue that Call of Duty brings in yearly, and how strong Warzone and Warzone 2 are, right? So if you're independent, you have to shit out a Call of Duty every single year. Like, you can't skip, because if you do, the stockholders are going to be like, well, wait a minute, because our year-over-year revenue is going to decline immensely and our stock price is going to drop, right? And you can't always release an Overwatch 2 as well. So to me, I think it's clear that like Activision's time as an independent publisher is sort of nearing its end, because they've basically only want to make games that are $1 billion and make all this money. But now you have to have 10 studios helping out on one COD game that comes out every single year, and the only like people that could help were essentially the first party console manufacturers, Sony, where they could be like, we'll take you on and we can sort of free you from it, where it's like you don't need to release a Call of Duty every single year. It can be every other year, and we could do other single things. So I feel like ABK needs to deal more, because they won't be able to break the cycle of Call of Duty, and their stocks will go down. But like I think Xbox's future is way brighter and way more vibrant with Activision Blizzard. Without it, it's like, okay, now what do you need to do? Because clearly from what they said, you have to go after mobile, right? You have to, because I know there's this whole fanboy fantasy. You sort of mentioned this, Gaz, of like, all right, now you got $70 billion to play with, or 67 after you give $3 billion to Bobby Kotick for walking away, right? What are you going to spend that $67 billion on? And there are people out there, oh man, they're going to spend the $67 billion, and they're going to buy Capcom, and they're going to buy Sega, and they're going to buy this, and they're going to money hat every single AAA game in the space and take them all away from PlayStation. But that's not realistic. You know that's not going to happen. What they're going to do is Microsoft is probably going to reinvest some of that money into ChatGPT right now, AI, which seems to be the hot thing. And Xbox will be like, all right, we need to, we need mobile, so they need to target something mobile. They probably would also look at some other studios or publishers. Like, you could probably go get a Sega if you wanted to, because Sony's not going to come out there crying that they can't live without Sonic, right? You couldn't make those arguments, so you could probably do some of those things if you wanted to. But the idea of them spending all that money on Xbox, I think, is absurd. Like, they're Microsoft, they're going to reinvest, right? Like, so it's just, I also think there's this thing where if the deal goes through and they spend the $70 billion, you spent $77 billion on Xbox, you're locked in on the future of the brand essentially for a long, long time, even after Satya leaves at some point, right? Like, Satya and Phil are going to leave at some point, and who knows if the next CEO is going to view gaming the same way that Satya views it, or the next head of Xbox is going to have the same strategy that Phil does. What if
you're locked in after the 70 billion?
So but like, you're not. If 70 billion goes away and it's only just Bethesda for 7 billion, and if like let worst case scenarios happen where the revenue that Microsoft was bringing in this year for Xbox constantly decreases, maybe they're like, all right, well, we're not going to invest in Xbox anymore. You're on your own. We're done with it, because our view is like, we're going to invest in all these other AI things that are potentially going to make us more money. So I'd be very interested what would happen if the deal went through, because I think that's a big black eye for Microsoft if it really does. Like, they have the highest paid lawyers in the world, and you couldn't push this through at all. Like, that is a black mark.
That is ridiculously black eye, because ultimately the company has not spent this much money in its existence as a corporation. Microsoft, 70 billion on an acquisition like this. That's a huge black mark. That would also call into question the future viability of Xbox as a brand. Absolutely. Absolutely would.
And, I know PlayStation fans like to say, oh, you're going to spend 70s. I don't know why PlayStation fans and Sony don't look at it as a compliment that Xbox literally had to spend $77 billion to even sort of bring themselves on the level that PlayStation is currently. Like, if that was me and I was like the leader in the whatever field I'm in, and my competitor had to spend all that money to even get even with me or even slightly below me, I'd be like, man, damn, look how much better I am than you.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Like, isn't that a compliment? It's like, you had to spend $77 billion to even get. You weren't even going to pass us. You're still going to be underneath us. I don't know.
I would find whoever made that compliment and have them assassinated.
Every time it's a pro Sony thing, he's like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I would find whoever paid me that huge compliment and have them assassinated immediately.
Oh, well, Lulu might. But look, Alvin with the $5 super chat, thank you, because Microsoft hasn't gone $70 billion balls deep into this just to tiptoe out where the water gets choppy. They're going to see it through to whatever end.
Yeah, but is there like, let's just say the CMA blocks it. Right. Microsoft's like, couldn't convince them with the behavioral remedy, and Microsoft doesn't want to do a structural remedy. Right. So CMA is like, all right, guess what? It's blocked. Is there really a recourse like there is in the FTC? I think there's some tribunal thing, but doesn't it flip it back to basically the CMA themselves in a tribunal?
No, it doesn't.
I don't really know the UK law.
Tribunals rebuked the CMA as early as August last year when they had I forgot what the case was, but it's like there's completely spurious. There were no merits. That they rebuked the CMA quite badly. It was in one of my videos. Like, they didn't the tribunal will look at it like a court does, like proper arbitration. There'll be a full on like mediator.
What happens if
like a judge? Sorry.
What happens if the European Commission, because they're the other one, we don't know what they're thinking. I mean, I guess the rumors are that they're more pliable towards the deal than the other ones, but you don't know. I mean, it's just funny because I remember this time last year, everybody was like, "Oh, deal's going to go through no problem." Everybody was like that. Deal going to the problem. Yeah. Well, Special Nick was like, deal's going to be done by September. No big deal. September.
He was arguing with me in the Discord. I've got the receipts I saved. I was just like, are you sure? Because like, you don't know how it works. I'm like, if I posted that, it would make him look bad. But I'm being nice.
Just going to say it here, yes.
You're just going to say it here on Go Live, the Saturday evening talk show.
I'm not going to read it out. He's a nice guy. I like him. But yeah, look. I think the deal will go through. I think broader than this is the fact that big business cannot be curtailed in this way over the posturing of a reasonably bold and FTC that wants to make some political scoring points. Because it, especially on a case which I believe in, and forget the biases, all that nonsense, I think on the facts of it, they have a relatively easy case. Is the eye-watering sum that's blinding a lot of things, but the consumers will benefit. They'll get more value from it. People will save money. The employees want it. We know the employees want it because the head of the snake, Bobby Kotick, is there. As long as he's there, it's going to suck. Diablo's got issues. All fans want the Activision Blizzard especially to come back. We're going to know, like, Diablo's devs are like coming out. I've seen so many devs on Twitter. They're just saying like, oh, the flip. You're the reason why Overwatch 2 sucks. You're the reason why Diablo's gonna be shit. We don't even know we're gonna cutting out content already this summer. Like, my battery's dying. It's like, it is an easy, or not easy case, that's the wrong word. It is a very strong case in favor of Microsoft. We're just dealing with regulators, in my opinion, don't really understand the merit of the industry and the backdrop around it. I just don't think that. You might think, oh, well, there is $70 billion. But nascent cloud market. So who can make an argument here? Acer, that the nascent cloud market is going to be impacted by Microsoft. And Ram says quite...
Yeah, they'll be in a really strong position. I don't know how you can dismiss that argument. Like, it's complicated because we don't know how that market is going to develop, but it's Microsoft that have said that it's going to be huge and it's going to be the future of all of gaming. So it's hard to see anybody else being able to compete with them. I don't think that is an argument without merit. I just don't think that trying to curtail Microsoft from investing in that is necessarily the right way forwards either.
Yeah, I mean, curtailing them from investing in a nascent market isn't the solution to anything. There are no competitors there. So, sorry, Ham, you've been sitting there listening to the CMA chat, which isn't exactly the most exciting chat. But before I go, I want to know, what do you think this deal will go through, the ABK deal?
Oh, I think it will, but not without something...
They'll take the pound of flesh.
Yeah. They're gonna have to, in my opinion, and I really think Microsoft kind of knew this going into it. That hey, that they just maybe weren't sure what, like probably they probably went on ahead and said, yeah, Call of Duty is gonna be a hot button issue. And you've seen how quick they were to react. Oh yeah, we're already on the phone with y'all, trying to get 10-year deals. We're like they were so quick to run to the phone and call. And I mean, hell, when they announced the Activision Blizzard deal, I remember they were like, Phil's on the phone with Jim Ryan right now on Channel 5 News. It was really fast. So Microsoft knew that this was going to be a slippery deal going into it. I think that they're going to get what they want, but they're not going to get the whole pie.
Okay, I think I agree with you there, and I still don't think divestiture is going to be something that they obviously don't want it, but I just don't think they will want to entertain it. But if they keep getting resistance, they'll be more inclined to accept it. Such an L if that happens, in my opinion. I think the legal team need to. I know it's a logical political affair, but I think that would just be something bad. Rand Ham makes a good point, but I don't know. Do you think Microsoft actually knew this was going to be as hard an uphill battle as it is now? Because I don't know.
Tough to say. It's really tough to say. I mean, they talked about how if this deal was 4 years ago, it would go through no problem, right? Previous administration. I don't know if they anticipated Sony's all-out strategy to stop it. I think they may have underestimated Sony in that regard, and that may have hurt them because they seem to have presented a good argument to some of the regulators, like the CMA. And the European Commission, that, hey, we're going to be really hurt by this. And it's like, okay, you need to really look in this deep. So maybe there is some to that. I mean, but they did say, like, we expect this deal to be, that's why that's why they're like, oh, we expect this deal to close by September of this year. Like other people said, they were like June of the following year, because they knew it was going to go through the ringer, right? It's a $70 billion acquisition. I sort of feel like they knew it would take this long. I don't know if they expected the full opposition that is currently going on.
Especially UK, right? I think.
Yeah.
I think what they didn't anticipate, what Microsoft didn't anticipate, is how well Sony was going to be able to coerce naive people into helping them.
Sauce.
I mean,
so you think Sony's actually successfully swayed some regulators in their arguments?
I feel like us as gamers and those of us that like look at news fairly often are looking at this like, Sony, you must be working some sort of like you working that thing in bed or something, like you gotta be doing something insane, because us all as gamers, and even I've seen many PlayStation fans even be like really, Like, this is this hard to do right now? Like, really? And it's just like, in my opinion, I think, if you can get somebody that's in charge of something massive to get mad about something that they don't really know about.
Sony did it well.
and Sony did it really well. They're like, these guys don't know what the heck they're doing with gaming, but I can tell them that this is going to bother them. This is going to mess with their money. And as soon as they said, that's going to mess with our money, they got mad. And that's where we're at today. We're just sitting here trying to figure out, what can Microsoft say to look smart? Because what they have said a few times is put their foot in their mouths, especially with the, I had no idea about Call of Duty thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was bad. That was really bad.
Like Microsoft, you can't play dumb better than Sony in this situation. You can't.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be smart and have your freaking facts on pen and paper. And you see right now, they've just got done talking in the chat. I mean, what's his name is super thrilled about it. I think it's Tando or whatnot. He keeps like posting the exact same thing about breaking news. FTC granted Sony's motion to limit scope of Microsoft's subpoena.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen that post posted on there like 3 or 4 times already, but by the same person. So
I'm not getting that.
But yeah, I think I honestly think all in all, this is gonna go through. It's just gonna definitely they're gonna get stabbed a couple times on the way out the door.
I think definitely someone is taking their pound of flesh. I think the deal will go through. I think once the FTC and regulators are more concerned, actually, in my opinion, more the FTC this applies to than the other ones, to make it look like they have done something. They can say, see, we made big business buckle, and they have to attack a $70 billion Microsoft. They're licking their lips that there it is, that transaction that they wanted. They cannot appear weak, and ultimately it'll come down to PR. So Microsoft says, all right, in addition to the 10 years, we will give you, I don't know, something cloud-based or something stupid, or 15 years, and then that will be enough. Because I think when it comes to the merits of the case, any court looking at it will pass the deal or vote or judge in favor of Microsoft. But we'll see. Mathusio, thank you so much for the super chat. He goes, lads, we underestimated Jim Ryan, man. He's working 24/7. He has been whispering in the ears of the FTC and regulators everywhere, worldwide, and in Brussels, as we know. It's like the Benny Gesserit in Dune, just spreading the propaganda. But yeah, look, let's see where this goes. I'm with Rand. I'm so sick and tired of talking about this deal. I just want it to be done or not done, so we can just talk about something else.
This is definitely the point in the timeline where I make us talk about it all the time, because you've made us talk about it all the time for the last year and whatever. No, we're going to do it now that you're bored of it. I'm going to make it come up every week. Sorry, everyone.
Just if we're going to talk about it, give me some juicy Jim Ryan quotes,
Juicy Jim Ryan has done it. He's wiped his lips. He's ready. He's wiped his mouth. He goes, I've done what I've done. Let's see what these guys now just struggle and squirm. And that's why Sony's not on the phone calls. Why would you be? If you're Sony, well done. You played your cards right. Like, you did everything underhanded or whatever. You did what you had to. Big business and self-preservation. Not something to really admire as a competitive spirit, especially with a Japanese company.
Because I don't think Sony has anything to lose. You go all out to try to get it blocked. If you get it blocked, I think business back to, is business as usual. If it doesn't go through, or if it does go through, you already know that Microsoft can't take it away from you, right?
Yep.
So it's like,
win-win.
What scenario? Why should we work with you when we can work and try to make it so the deal completely gets blocked, which is more beneficial to us and our business? So,
and that's why I'm praying someone at Phil Spencer or someone has the balls to set an example once this deal goes through and says, we are now aggressive, and I mean properly aggressive, and this is all based on your relationship with us. So if they have any background talks, Shuei Ishida's like, hey, happy, but by the way, shout out to Shuei Ishida, it's his birthday. He's the only one of the few execs I actually really like on Sony. Shout out to him. And Sean Layden, he's gone, but I really liked him. But yeah, shout out to him. Happy birthday, Shuey. But yeah, I just want an aggressive Microsoft. And when I see things like that, I like it. I'm like, finally, stop being nice, guys. Go raw. But if Microsoft does like you say, they want King for the mobile, and then they're gonna scurry away and focus on AI, then I'm like, why am I backing Microsoft? Because you don't even believe in Xbox as strongly as I do. So it's like, So let's see how it goes. I believe in the brand. I just want it to do well. And the more and more, it just kind of reveals it's all money based and it's all mobile based, and it's like, well, I'm so naive now. I'm in my mid-30s, like talking about this brand like it's an extension of my gaming identity.
Oh, we're having an epiphany live on air. Here we go.
Oh my lord! Wow.
It's not live in there. It's always a pervasive conversation in my head, but I give the benefit of the doubt. Microsoft hangs a little bit there. Out of all the companies, who do you want me to align with? PlayStation. They don't give a fuck. They just care about themselves. Nintendo doesn't give a shit. It's charging you $17 for what? Because we can. And don't give you a statement. Here it is. Go suck on it. I mean, Microsoft at least is human. It's like even this $1 trillion company, they're so makes so many mistakes. It makes so many exactly. At least to is to be human, and that's why I always back the underdog, because the Microsoft fucks up so many times. But it's like
you're gonna say you back the underdog.
Xbox is the underdog. Xbox is the underdog. Who is the underdog in this space? Don't say
Another one throwing $70 billion around.
Yeah, and they'll still be the underdog if it actually goes through too, which shows you the gulf
Make some games,
between them.
You're making our life difficult, or my life difficult. Listen, man, Xbox is the good guy in this. It is the good guy. I'm sorry, chat. It is Xbox.
Guys, where can I send the invoice for the extra overtime that I have to charge you for being
I'm so sorry.
on the show?
Oh shit, man. Sorry, I apologize. Ladies and gentlemen, as we've covered all our talks, we're talking shit now. But Asa says he loves Microsoft. Thank you so much, everyone in chat, for being and bearing with us through the FTC talk as well. In fact, the numbers spiked when we were talking about the FTC, which is like, wow, you guys really want to, you're really interested in it. But I think most of you will, I think just end it. Let's see what happens. Asa, before we get the Jensen outro, tell us how you're going to play whatever the shitty game you're playing on VR.
That's not even a real question. Yeah, I'm going to be doing stuff. All the VR things. I've obviously got PlayStation VR 2 coming in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, I will still be on my PC VR, running around on my treadmill, having lots of fun with that, but also playing some of the good old pancake games as well, because I like lots of different things. I know I go in quite hard championing VR, but I do like normal games as well. It's like you can still enjoy movies when you like games. I like games more than I like movies, but I can go and watch a movie and enjoy it. VR is just that next level up for me. So I'll be doing a lot of that. I'll be on my channel on Thursday and maybe some other live things that I don't really know. Let's just get to the guests.
Yeah, absolutely. What poll do you want me to do, chat? Everyone say do a poll. Poll for what? Sorry, I didn't follow. Rand Alto 19, before you hit me with an invoice with eye-watering figures, now that you're a celebrity, I hope you had a good time. And please tell people know where you are. What you playing? I mean, what's in your life?
It's always great to be here with you guys and Asa. Asa, remember last week you said that, what was it, revenge is a dish best served cold, when I was like, oh, I guess Asa or whatever. Was that last week or the week before?
It was, yeah. And it's not cold yet, Rand. We're still friends.
I guess that's true. And, we got Ham here. Is
that why you brought up revenge? Are you gonna come get me?
Yeah, well, you might want to
be canceled.
You might want to check your followers on Twitter. I ain't following you no more after you.
Oh Lord!
You talk that shit about me. I'm very upset about that.
You guys is Dirk Griggity impersonations.
Dead. But yeah, it's always good to be here with you guys. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks for.
Hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend. I'm going to play some Hogwarts Legacy and maybe reading a book. Gaz, book?
I read a book. I'm going to read Neuromancer. It's supposed to be a really good cyberpunk book. That's supposed to be dank. So I'm going to read that. And Dune. So it's not about me. Last but certainly not least, the gentleman who finally fixed his microphone. But I'm so sorry. I know what it's like, because you were really eager to get on, which was really nice to see. And then the microphone problems happened, but it wasn't so bad.
yeah.
We heard you for most of it. Hope you had a good time, man. Tell the people where they can find you, Brad.
I did, and the whole microphone thing just made it like extra just panicky. It just sucked for that part. But like I still really had a good time conversing with you, Asa, and Rand. It was an absolute blast. Got to hear some fantastic points. Definitely learned what not to say to Rand live because the man got
don't
he
comment,
didn't like
people.
that.
It's pretty simple.
I didn't mean to. I was just very passionate
I
about like it was like Hogwarts Legacy is what I'm going to be playing coming up. Absolutely loving that game. But as for where you can find me, please check out my channel. I do a show with Loke every week. He's my other panel member, but TSWS Gaming is the channel that I'm on and the channel that I run. We are nearing 500 followers right now, so way less than Rand or Asa or Gaz or any of these guys. Yeah. Got to start from somewhere, but I've been pumping out some fantastic content. I've had everybody that's on the panel on Behind Them Sticks in the past. I recently had Seamus Blackley, the creator of Xbox, on my channel to be the exact same show. So please definitely go check that out. I'd love to see you guys in the chat. The chat has been fantastic. And I talk about all different things. So it's not just Xbox or PC or place like I try to give love to everything, but I'm an Xbox guy at heart first. That's my preference. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I hope to come back at some point.
Absolutely, would love to have you, and hopefully your microphone works next time. But honestly, we had a great time. Thank you, and I'm glad both of you gents had a great time as always. And everyone in chat, thank you. Please hit the like button if you did enjoy the show. I'll just quickly sign out, but before that, just to let you know, I'm working on a Source video. But before that, I'm working on something very different, very special. Superhero fans, you're gonna love it. One video is cool. The second video after that is going to be something more ambitious than I've ever done. So I'm really excited. So please hit the like button, share, subscribe, and I will be pushing videos earlier to members. I didn't get the last one because I was running out of time, but members will get it much earlier. So hopefully you like the videos. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Peace.